time is now.
NUFC Early Night News with Gary the Geordie Yam Yam, Andrew Bokey, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 7:30 p.m. UK, 1:30 p.m. USA.
NUFC Talk.
Right. Anyway, I can't believe the Mighty Wind's comments. Can you, unfortunately, I couldn't watch the end of the show yesterday. I wasn't feeling too grand after the show. That's just my condition. It's got nothing to do with the way Newcastle ended up finishing. So I had to put my head down. So in the comments, I've just had a look at the at some of the highlights, if you like, and somebody had put a comment in after the show and said that Wynn mentioned that Dan Burn and J7 were the best players on the pitch. Did he mention that?
He said until I think the 60th minute or something. I think.
Wow. Like, I think he goes to a different ground and a different team to what we all watch. So anyway, we're going to get into the nooks and crannies of last night, and it'll be interesting. After, like I say, I always think sometimes you should readdress the situation after you've calmed down, after you've had time to think and potentially get to grips with what's happening. Because emotions sometimes you say the wrong thing because of that emotive event. So I'm glad I've had a little bit of time just to, like I say, swallow a little bit of my own self-belief, pity, whatever you want to call it. But let's crack on with the housework, and we'll get into tonight's show, because I think I could see people sitting on a different fence to me during this tonight's show. And listen, I've got big shoulders, so throw something at me if you need to. But anyway, welcome to everybody that's watching across all of the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoy the show. It certainly helps us as a channel to get further to other supporters. Things you can do totally free. 1, subscribe. 2, hit that bell button for future content. Like I say, you will get that 30-minute warning when we go in live. Always live, never edited. So what you hear is always what we say. If you want to support us, you can become a member for a small monthly fee. I mean, it is the month of December. I know money's tight, but if you can help us in any way you can, it certainly helps us bring the content to you throughout the week as we do. If you've got a question for any of the panel, then obviously try and put a Q in front of it. But it ain't guaranteed to be mentioned because, like I say, we do give far too much away. So if you do want to guarantee it, then throw us a Talk TV super chat and use the $sign, follow the instructions, and that'll guarantee your message read out. And anybody that becomes a member during the show, or any of our beautiful members out there that gift them, will also be highlighted and thanked as we go. Me and Bokey did the watch along yesterday, Tim, and like I say, both. I think flabbergasted was the way it felt to me in the end. And like I said, it still feels like a loss, even though I suppose some will say, it ain't a bad point. What's your thoughts, mate, on the game?
It was such a frustrating end, wasn't it? I think to go back to the start of the game, I think we started really well. I was pleased that he rested Bruno. I was saying before the game that's what I wanted to happen, to use the squad, and so I was happy with that. And I thought the first half there was a lot of endeavour, a lot of effort. You can't fault that, I don't think. And they were banging on the door, but they just couldn't quite create clear openings. And I think maybe a lack of quality in the final third stopped. I mean, I think Tottenham were defending deep, but I think we couldn't really carve out that clear chance that we needed. So, I mean, I think, it's like, okay, we're up for it. We're going forward. We're playing quite well in how we want to play. We're forcing them back. And Lewis Hall was, playing really well at times. I thought nipping in with those tackles, keeping the ball. And then second half, you get the goal. And just on the rotation, by the way, I think maybe there's one or two, at least one of the player might have rotated as well as Bruno, but maybe go on to that in the show. But yeah, second half comes along, get the breakthrough. You think, okay, right, now can we see this through? And the goal itself, down Burn, unfortunately, for the first goal for Spurs, Romero does get ahead of him, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? It's unfortunately. Yeah. I think Burn had good moments. Do you know, I do think that throughout the game, it's like there's Dan Burn, there's Dan Burn. He was clearing a lot of balls, but just in that moment, he's let him get ahead. And it was the same with the Marseille game. That cross that came in. I know it was mainly, I think, Cher's fault, but Burn kind of put his arms out and say, it's okay, let it go. He's literally watched it go past him. Same things happened in the Spurs game. And maybe Dan Burn, he has played a lot of games. I know Botman's injured, granted, but maybe Dan Burn could have been in and out the side a bit just for that freshness, because in those moments, he switched off. And then you fast forward, we get the penalty. And with Anthony Gordon, when he was lighting up, I was like, oh my God, like, why is he taking it? And why isn't Valimada taking it? And fair enough, okay, Anthony Gordon's our designated penalty taker, isn't he? Apparently. So, okay, yeah. Fine. But I don't trust him. I don't trust his technique for penalties. I know he's scored 2 this season beforehand and stuff, but that was nerve-wracking. Thankfully, he scored it. And then you come to the equalizer, and I've watched it back, and obviously it's a horrendous goal, really, to concede. And the first thing I would say is, looking at it back, I think Elanga could do a lot more. When the ball's dropping, Elanga's the nearest player there, and he just kind of jogs across. And to an extent, Anthony Gordon as well. I know it might look like I'm palling him these days, but he could have maybe got across a bit more as well. And it was just a really poor goal to concede with that. The defenders letting it go past them. Ramsdale maybe could have done better. So look, I think it was really deflating at the end, and I think it highlighted a lot of issues that we have seen throughout the season. Granted, it was still played well, in a lot of the game, but it did highlight a lot of issues that we've seen. And at the flip side, if we can win against Burnley, it's 7 points out of 9. It's not the worst return out of those games, but it's really a big game now against Burnley.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'm going to say, mate, common sense. Like I said, I mentioned it when I saw you potentially going to be on the show. And again, Elanga for that second goal. What the hell are you doing, lad? I will go and have a look at, I have got some bits and pieces for us to have a look at. But is there anything that from that game? I'm going to talk the first half. Was there anything that really stood out for you in that first half? For me, when I'm commentating, like I say, I do, and I'm sure it's the same for Boki, bless him. When you're commentating, you're concentrating on that moment, aren't you? Where the ball is, the play in action. So you do miss out on lots of the game. And like I say, I've had to do a lot of research for tonight's show just to try and get my head back into the game. So when I have had the opportunity, I've had a look at the highlights. I've had a look at some snippets from the first half and second half just to try and get my head around it. But I want to know, and again, I'm going to come to you as well, Andy. Is there something when you saw that game yesterday? Was there elements of that game that made an obvious choice for you going forward now?
Well, I agree with Tim a little bit that Dan Burn needs to be rested. I think me and you both said at the start potentially J7 shouldn't have started, and then I thought I did listen last night, and Wynn did see we thought he was the second best player on the pitch. I don't know what game he was watching. To me, he was just inept. I was seeing take him off after 45 minutes.
I'd have took him off after 20, mate. Never mind 45.
Yeah. He didn't do much for the team at all, in my view. I still feel quite deflated from the result, even though it was a draw. We did get a point,
Mm.
but I think the big changes that need to be made is, as I said, J7 needs to come out of the team for a little bit, and I think Dan Burn needs to come out of the team for a little bit.
Yeah, I can't disagree with what you've said. But you know, the one thing for me, and the one thing that again I had to keep. You know, when you doubt yourself, when you doubt your opinion, and you doubt what you believe to be true, and unfortunately, you know, like I said, I don't hold anybody to flame. You know what I mean? There's no righteous player in my eye, regardless of what name or what number you carry on your back. When critical viewing and you're there to critique an element, the one thing I've noticed, and again, everybody in the chat, if you again, I've got big enough shoulders to take on board anything thrown back at me. But the one thing I've discovered, buddy, is Tonali cannot lead this team. Now, do you understand what I mean by that?
Well, he was the
I'm
main man in the
waiting for
first
that
half,
thought.
wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm waiting for the thought bush to come past.
Well,
Every time Tonali plays without Bruno, right? And again, you look at the first half, I had to keep looking back at where Tonali and how Tonali gets involved in the game as that deep six, right? When he hasn't got Bruno to bounce off, somebody who obviously somebody he can rely on, I don't think he trusts or he's got the full trust of Miley or J7 if they lose the ball. And to me, it feels as though he's a half man. I'm half involved in the game, but I'm not going to fully commit to the game. When Bruno's on, you see a different Tonali. It's like, I trust you to go and do that bit of work just in front of me, and I'll support you behind. Yesterday, especially yesterday, I think it was more truthful for me, and it certainly was more truthful for him not to come out that second half. He was the only change, and the difference in Newcastle for that period of time was totally different, with Bruno making that charge as that focal point in the centre circle, if you like. And the one thing that I realised then is we need to change and not rely on Tonali being that focal point in the middle of the park. He has to, and again, having chance and opportunity to go back and have a look at him in the international squad where he plays left of centre, whether they play a 5, a 4 or a 3. He has played, as daft it looks, right of that centre. And during that time, it was the worst marks he'd got for Italy during his international game. And I'm looking at it now, and like you've mentioned, J7, I've got some statistics regarding J7. But for me, the one thing that really showed home for me was Tonali isn't a leader on the park, where we all thought, you know, his endeavour, his work rate stands him a good stead to be that one, to the one that pushes us forward, the one that covers all the ground. He looked a lost sheep yesterday for that first 45 minutes, having watched it back. Didn't really contribute to anything at all. No forward passes, really. Do you guys understand what I'm saying now, or is it something that you haven't really...
I know where you're coming from, because I think there were times where, I think for me, the endeavour was there from Tonali. He's trying, but I think sometimes lately he's gave it away cheaply. He hasn't looked after the ball very well, in my opinion. And when we've had these stingers, you know, like West Ham and Brentford and stuff, you know, he has been in team for those stinkers. And again, it sounds harsh because he's still been one of our better players this season by far. But there are moments where I think you wonder with Tonali, can you not test the keeper? Could you not put in a more penetrating ball, you know, for the striker? Kind of what you said in terms of like this half player. And we hear about Tonali having this powerful shot and training and stuff like that, but you rarely see him actually test the keeper. You see him have shots this season, but a lot of times straight down the throat, isn't it? So I think he's kind of went under the radar a little bit in how he's maybe lacked that contribution. And like you say, Bruno comes on fresh, fired up, leading the charge as a captain, probably, chomping at the bit because he doesn't like to be in the bench as well, which is great for us, which again is why you rotate him. And like, I do agree, Gary, he steps in Tonali's shoes and then kind of leads the way in a way that Tonali wasn't. But I mean, what I'll bounce back at you is, so do you, because I know you've been saying, Gary, that Tonali's wasted as a 6 and you're saying we need to get him as an 8.
Yeah.
But how does what you're saying there come into that in terms of where you see Tonali, 6 or 8?
Well, yeah, I'll come into that in a second because I have got a little graphic of where and the team that I would definitely play. Somebody had made and I'm not sure who it was now. And again, I don't know whether it was one of our lads in the chat that, or it was something that I've seen on social media, because it was just literally while I was having a cup of coffee, just flicking through some notes for tonight's show and trying to, get some ideas for tonight's show. What I have noticed is the fact that, like you say, when you look across the field of play, I do think and we've mentioned the likes of J7. There has to be games where J7 will be more influential. And I also think that there has been a time where maybe, and I say this with like a question mark behind it as well, maybe we've seen the best out of J7. Maybe the days are now, we always say sometimes the game sometimes outplays you, to your ability. And yesterday was one of those moments for me that I've seen coming. But yesterday for me, J7, it was the icing on the cake. And I've got, like I say, it's not as if I talk out in my head, because I do try and find the relevant information rather than just looking at a player. And because he's a player with a name, we all put him up in headlights. That ain't me at all. I'll give praise where praise is required, and I'll give criticism where I believe criticism is also required. Let's firstly have a look at the passing lanes. And again, I looked at this and I thought, it's steady. As you can see, it's balanced. You've got mainly that U shape, as we always do, and the two wide men are the furthest forward, which is what you want to see. And like I say, I thought Murphy was awful yesterday. Me and Boki at the start of the session said, we don't know what Murphy's going to turn up these days. It's Jekyll and Hyde with Murphy. He's such a lovely character. He's got that smiley face, and often against Spurs seems to turn up for the day. Yesterday, again, I always say you can carry one player, but you can't carry three. And to me, J7, Tonali to a degree, and Murphy were the culprits mainly for not being really involved with the game, and also, especially with the two, J7 and Murphy, actually giving the ball away a lot more than actually retaining onto the ball. And like I said, for me, that was, typical Newcastle, balanced left and right, even though if you look at this, it looks like we are more dominant down the right-hand side against Spurs. And maybe that's because Parody didn't get forward that often because he was up against Harvey Barnes, who I thought had a really good game, and then Anthony Gordon. But it was a doggy that seemed to want to get forward for Spurs a lot of the time down that right-hand side. So I think it turned as if and again, we talk about T now having that lovely relationship, if you like, to have that balance with Murphy. And he often states that. Let me just put this on the screen. Thanks, Tony. That's a unique way to hold a cup, Tim.
Is it?
Good show. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Did you get your little pinky up in the air? There you go.
There is that.
It is indeed. Thanks, Tony. To me, it is interesting to see how these teams perform. Let's have a quick look at the Spurs team and their tree, if you like. And again, as we all said, not really any balance there, because when you watch them play in this system, it was more of a 4-3-3 yesterday, and it ended up in a 4-2-4, and then it literally went, all over the shop, because, like I say, Thomas Frank was being outnumbered, and he just wanted to put as many forward-thinking bodies in there. And listen, through a couple of defensive lapses, they actually got an equaliser. But Tony said earlier, do you actually think that we deserved the win? Well, I certainly don't think Spurs deserved the win. They literally just came to spoil. They didn't seem to have any forward thinking, any formation. Look lost to a degree. And I think if it wasn't for our final ball, the amount of times where you wasted the ball in that final third, me and Boki were talking, we were just questioning it all the time. What is going on in that final third for us? Because it was, again, watching it, it was just, the build-up play was great. Final third, we just seemed to go all over the shop. And I questioned everything about it. And like I say, you can see from this, the spider web, there's not much balance. They do try and dominate down that right-hand side. And I did think at times Kudus caused Hall a little bit of trouble down that right-hand side with Porro. Again, a decent technical play with the ball. But they certainly looked a little bit more back to normality with Spurs, with Romero in the side. And like I say, with his captaincy, very much like Bruno for us, got that endeavour, that mentality to try and go and get that win. And like I say, a centre-back comes in and gets both goals, one a diving header, and one a bicycle kick. You would never, in the world of pig's pudding, would you, have said a central defender would have got a goal like a diving header and then a overhead bike kick. And in his words, he does train with Messi on a regular basis on international duty. So he has picked up a lot of hints and tips along the way. That's what he said. Not sure whether I'll take much out of that, to be fair. But again, what's your thoughts then? Because like I say, Tony did question whether we deserved anything from that game. What was your thoughts then, Tim, on that, on Spurs themselves?
Well, I think, to be fair to Spurs, they were organised and they were blocking us out. And they've had a reaction from their last game where they were terrible, and there's a bit of chaos going on there with Spurs and their players and the manager. And they've got together, and for this game anyway, they've had a reaction. So they were tough to break down, but I think this is where the likes, well, certainly Ramsey, I think, could make a difference. And Ramsey could add to that creativity in the final third that we were lacking. So we had, like you say, it was great build-up play, but when we got there, we just lacked ideas and we're just unable to open them up. And I'm not saying that Ramsey's, one like Messi, but I think in the final third, with his runs, with his touch, I think there's more chance of just simply carving out openings. Because with Ramsey, from what I've seen, when he receives the ball, there's a possibility that there's one touch and shoot or one touch and pass. And you when you're playing against a Spurs team where they are sitting deep like that, those openings are only going to be there for a split second. So the likes of Ramsey, I think, could or could not, but at least play him at home where he's driving forwards to give the best chance possible of creating those openings for the likes of Altamada. And J7 does need one, 2, 3, 4 touches, doesn't he really, before he then makes his pass. And there's the time and the place for J7. I've said this a million times, He's a really good player to have in the squad for certain games, but there's certain games where we need somebody else who's going to be more penetrating in the final third with that touch and the skill. And we're coming back to the same issues. This is where I think Ramsey could have came in.
But do you think there was any justification for keeping J7 on for as long as, for the game? But, I don't understand why he didn't sub him.
I think he's thinking purely of J7's combative capability to hold on to a lead. Rightly or wrongly, I think that's his mindset. But I agree. I think even then it's a case of, well, you know what? Let's keep the lead by keeping the ball.
Yeah.
And Ramsey would keep the ball better. So, and Javier give you those legs. I know obviously J7 gives you the legs as well, but at the end of the day, he's played a lot of football, and I agree. I think Ramsey should have been involved in that game in some form. I mean, someone said
Yeah.
there, sorry, Tony said there, Willock as well, maybe even Willock as an option at the end there, just for them legs to get us up the pitch.
Well, like I said, I'm going to put my side in a minute, and that takes on board what I've seen of Willock so far. That just goes to prove I haven't seen a lot of him, but the what I've seen of him, especially he's obviously firing with a little bit of confidence at the moment. Whether that's because there's talk of him potentially going in January, so he wants to get himself, in tip top shape, if you like, mentally. Or it's more the fact that you go on the fact that are we still talking Eddie Howe though? This is the problem. At the end of the day, the lads that are starting these matches and the lads that are competing for the 90 minutes are players that are told to go onto the field of play, that have been trained all together. Eddie Howe must see something that we don't in them training sessions, because when it comes to game time, individuals are just letting you down. And like I say, as much as we look at, I don't really think, Voltemada last night was outstanding. I didn't think he contributed a lot to the game. He got the assist, if you like. But when you're looking at it, he was isolated a lot of the time. And again, we talk about when you've got two or three opposing bodies around you, you're not always going to come out with the ball. So again, are we talking about players just not getting close to him? Was it the fact that we were just too worried about the counter-attack that was potentially there against Spurs? There just seemed to be something that was in the back of the minds yesterday which stopped us playing with that little bit of freedom, with that little bit of fluidity, if you like. Like I say, build up to the final third, I had no issues with, apart from obviously sometimes giving the ball away. But for me, there was just something missing. There was a spark that just wasn't there. And like I say, isolation, you can blame the individual, but you sometimes have to go back to the tactic and say, you can't expect a lad to keep bringing the ball out of, being closed down by three bodies. Am I right or wrong?
I think it's a little bit, but this one bit, obviously, I can't prove it, but it's a little bit that I think the players know Eddie's got his favourite players. I think they understand that the likes of Miley, he'll come in, but he knows for a fact that through time Eddie will go back to his tried and tested three in the midfield. I think Byrne's probably thinking, sorry, not Byrne, what's he called? Bond, sorry, they're probably thinking the same thing on the left. Anthony Gordon's going to come back in at some point. Eddie seems to have his favourite players, and I think, as I said, the little bit of the mindset of the players is, if I'm not playing well in this game or I make a mistake, it's going to be the excuse to get us out the team, basically. And
Yeah.
I think with the back foot, why? If I'd be pretty annoyed if I was Shaw. Shaw hasn't really done anything wrong this season. He got out the team because he got a head injury, and then he hasn't really let us down at all. But he's sort of just become a bit part player. Whereas I think when him and Chow played together at the back, they did have a good game. They have played well together.
Yeah, there's an element to that I do agree with, buddy. But, this is what you want to see in a team, isn't it? And I don't just mean players that are at the back, because, again, competition at the back, I think it's probably the strongest backline that we've seen at Newcastle for a hell of a long time. So I want that competition there. And you're absolutely right. Shaw hasn't done anything wrong, But when the opportunity comes for a player to step into the team, you have to grab it with both hands. And that, to me, is what Chow has done. Now, and again, you've seen this from Eddie, where he's moved players around to accommodate certain individuals. The Chow and Shaw partnership, where he put Chow on the right-hand side, he's put Chow on the left-hand side, he's put Shaw on the left-hand side, and you start saying to yourself, oh, that's a bit dodgy. But again, it seems to have worked. The other players that have come in, I don't feel as though, people say, well, you need continuity, you need a run of games. Well, we haven't seen that from Malik Chow when he's taken his opportunity. You know, he had that very small cameo against Liverpool, but apart from that, he only got into the side because of the head injury. So when that opportunity has arisen, he's actually just taken it on board and run with it, and he looks stronger game by game.
The counter side to that, Gary, Shaw came in when Byrne was suspended,
Yeah,
but then as soon as Byrne got back, Shaw was out.
yeah, but you've also got to look at it. It's not a sure natural position, that left centre back.
But Shaw did nothing wrong in that game. And to be honest with it, this whole left and right side centre back thing, I think, is a little bit of a myth. There's a lot of teams don't play with a naturally left-footed centre back or two naturally, one of each. They do play
Yeah,
with
but
two naturally left or two naturally right.
yeah, you're right. But what teams do then is look for players the likes of Mark Gay, the Van der Ven, no, I say Van der Ven, Van Dijk, who are and Chow, Malik Chow. There's certain players, absolutely right, don't have to be left-footed to play left centre back, but you have to have the mindset to play left centre back. You know, we all saw that Botman played right centre back for a while, didn't he? With Dan Burn left centre back. Didn't look comfortable though, did he? So why is that? What's the difference?
It is weird. It is. It seems like left footers for some reason don't adapt as well as right footers on the wrong side. But I think Cher can play left side. I think he's comfortable there.
Yeah, I don't think he had a bad game, mate. To be fair,
No.
I don't think he had a bad game at all, and that's what I said. I don't disagree with what Andy said there. All I'm saying to you is you have to ask then, or is the player not happy? Because it's like penalty takers, isn't it? You know, when you come to a penalty shootout, you may not always want to give your best strikers of the ball a penalty, even though in the gaffer's head, you're probably saying, you know, you're a good striker of a ball, I'm going to put you down. If your mindset isn't right to take that pressure, you hold your hand up and say, listen, I don't mind having a cameo role, but I don't want it permanently. We don't know what's being said backwards and forwards, do we?
More the point I was trying to make, Guy, was when you were saying about Chow get coming in, getting his run of games because he had a good cameo then, got in because of the thing, and he carried on in the team. Shaw was the same. Shaw came back into the team, had a good game, but he didn't get a chance to then progress with that. He got dropped.
He got
And it
dropped,
was the same. It was a little bit the same last night with Malanga. Malanga had a okay game at the weekend. Probably one of his better games forward. Created a chance. Probably was starting to lift his confidence up, but then he's dropped the next game again. He's not given some people a chance to have that run in the team.
Interesting one I've just had from Connor, to be fair. I suppose, you know, you look at it, it's not been long ago that we beat Spurs comfortably in the Cup. And he's asking, why couldn't we put the same time, you know, play the same team as we played against them in the Cup when it was so comfortable then? Why change it up now? You know, and again, we go back to that tried and trusted mentality, isn't it? About, you know, I must have this player in my side. I must play this type of football, this tactic, this setup. There is no change in where we're going with Eddie Howe and his tried and trusted players.
And to be fair, during the game, I did see when he did make a substitute, when he made the substitutes to the two wingers, he did get them to play different than the way that Barnes and Murphy had been playing. If you looked at Gordon, he was playing like he did for England. He was hugging the touchline. And
he got behind, didn't he? Got a lot of success.
Got a lot of success getting in behind. So
yeah,
we do have to say Eddie made some tactical changes that worked. But then it's the other side that he left players on who shouldn't have been, and other tactical things he didn't get right. He never seems to be able to do a full game where he makes the right tactical decisions.
Yeah,
I think as well. I think part of it is the managing the fixtures, and as much as you want to look at the game in front of you, like we've got Burnley coming up after the Spurs game that we've had, and I would have had in mind picking a team that's suited to Spurs and a team suited to playing Burnley, who we know are going to come and just sit right in. So, you know, I think Alanga is a unique situation at the moment in that he's really struggling to bed himself in. But ultimately, I think you could argue that Alanga could have played last night, because that game would have been more suited to him in terms of pacing behind against a Spurs team who were sitting in a bit, but not as much as Burnley will. And then Murphy, for all his faults, is somebody more likely to unlock a door than Alanga against a deep side like Burnley. The same on the left side. Harvey Barnes has played 4 games, whatever it was, now with Spurs. And you got Anthony Gordon there. Anthony Gordon doesn't blow my frog up, as you say, Gary, but I would have maybe put him in against Spurs purely just for rotation, and then play Barnes against Burnley. Again, knowing Barnes is a type of player who will unlock the door against a low block a lot more than, in my opinion, than Anthony Gordon would. So that it's those elements I would be considering in these 2 games back to back, and it's a bit, a lot of people probably wouldn't like that, because again, I know you got to play what's in front of you and win the next game and go from there. But I just think you've got to just think ahead a bit and bite the bullet that way. And maybe those decisions could have been made, like I say, with the Burnley game in mind.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as well, Tim, with those decisions, he could have made wholesale changes for the Marseille game, like change the team then,
No
and
doubt.
then they had the players fit to move forward. But he sort of mixed it up through the last 3 games of rotating players around in each game. And I don't think that's really the right way to do it. For me, I think if you're going to do it for one game, so that you've got so you're giving players a rest, and then you've got your best team out for what is your bread and butter, really, the Premier League.
Aye.
Yeah, I'm going to start this questioning because I saw it earlier on. Tony's asking, is this what happens when your manager prioritises buying players that have good personalities over quality, and if they are a good fit for the team? I think that's a really good question, to be fair. You have to start questioning some of these players that Eddie's brought in now. And what were his narratives when it comes to picking these players that are coming? Because again, we questioned about Alanga needing space behind to really get involved and hurt opposition teams. We look at Ramsey and we questioned his durability, because he was very much injury-esque, prone towards when he was in his Aston Villa time. And again, a player that really couldn't break into the Aston Villa 11. So, and Jeff Howe's often said, why go ahead and pull out a reserve player in a Premier League rather than look for the cream in the Premier League. I am starting to question now some of these players that have come in, and even though it does make us on paper look stronger, we're still reliant on some of the old warlords, if you like, the Steve Bruce players, that continuity of player that hasn't got the skill set. So how does that look on the likes of Ramsey, on the likes of Alanga, who are the new recruits, when they actually can't get into a team that, with the players that I've just named, were in the relegation zones?
Well, the thing is, just with Ramsey, again, I just want to see him play run of games. You know what I mean? Like, and then we can judge him. I think that there's possibly a player in there, but it's on Eddie Howe. If he's choosing not to play him, then ultimately you've got to judge that signing, as to the impact that it's made on our team, and whether it's by choice, by not putting him in the team, or whether it's by him playing poorly. In this case, in my opinion, it's by the fact that he hasn't been put in the team. So by hook or by crook, he hasn't impacted us. So it's not been a great signing from that point of view. But like I say, the frustration is like, I think Eddie Howe is just too conservative that way, where I just get the impression that he wants players to be fully up to speed on the tactical side of things as to how we play before he gives them a run of games. So that involves a lot of training, a lot of work on the training grounds around how he wants us to play. And I get that. I get it to an extent, but I just think you've got to not be as safe as that at times. And in a season where we needed these signings to impact us, I think you've got to just be a bit more bolder. And if he plays rubbish, we can then turn around and say, what, Ramsey, poor player. But I just think there could be a player there, and I think the way he's quite nippy on the ball and has got that creative spark more so than Joe Linton. To me, it seems like an obvious thing to try, as
Yeah, yeah.
opposed to Joe Linton. I think Elanga is the big miss in he. You know, like he is not slotted in like we all wanted him to, and there was always question marks about the playing style. You know, counter attack player where we want to keep the ball more than Nottingham Forest. So there was that question mark, but this is now more of a question mark around other things such as mentality, in my opinion, with Alanga. And what Tony's saying there about the personality side of things, I mean, I do think you've got to applaud Eddie Howe from the point of view of like that policy has got us Champions League football twice. It's helped get us there anyway. It's helped win us silverware. So I think there's basis to operate that way, but I think you've got to just maybe be a bit bolder here and there and just mix it up a bit. And maybe this is where like the staleness as well comes into play that we've discussed.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you not think as well it would be good to have a player that is willing to come out and bang on Eddie's door at times, or show a little bit of frustration? When I know Gordon's done it in the past, but there's none of the others really show frustration when they're coming off. It's all sort of, it's a good thing in a way that they're all team players and they're sort of wishing the other player luck and everything like that. But I think sometimes to have a little bit of fire in your belly would be good from the players. And as you say, Gary's brought very much of a likeness of players that are not that type of character where they're going to come out and sort of argue or show that they're disappointed with things. And maybe you do need a couple of players like that in your squad just to show, a little bit of passion and to show that the manager isn't always making the right decision, or that they're not happy with the decision the manager's making.
Well, I've just put on the screen there. This is what we've lost points-wise from winning positions. And it's absolutely mental to think that if you put those 11 points on the board, we are second in the table. That's how crazy this is, And this is.
And when you consider,
go on, mate,
just
sorry.
as well, sorry, Gary, that a lot of those points lost have been last minute as well.
Yeah. I was just going to say, this comes towards the end of games in the final minutes. And that's why yesterday when me and Boki were watching it and we saw the 9 minutes, it was like, oh, my God, here we go again. We've got Arsenal, here it is. It's going to be, are we going to lose this in the 9 minutes? Never mind, get a draw out of it. Because, again, we can come to Eddie Howe's comments in a second on the match. But, for me, this is criminal. And, the other thing that's criminal, how many games have we won off the top of your head when Bruno Guimaraes is not in the starting 11? He's missed 9.
Very few, isn't it?
He's missed 9 games. How many of them games have we won?
None. Absolutely.
Not a single one. So when you say, you talk about influential players, he's that influential. When you look at individual bodies that aren't playing, Wynn keeps bringing his stats up about how many points we've had with Tonali in the team, how many points we've got without him, and all that malarkey. Like I said, you need individuals for individual moments because it's those moments in each game that win or get you on the board anyway. And like I said, I like Tonali on that left-hand side simply because he always favours to strike with his right foot. Whether you're talking an instep volley, this virtually the way Bruno hit that ball yesterday from the Voltemada layback. It was struck with the instep into that far corner. That's how Tonali likes to play, and that's what I said. When we're playing centrally, I think there's a lot of emphasis, and maybe he's taken what the gaffer's saying to him to heart. But he's saying, you are my last man in midfield. You are the kingpin in midfield. Yes, I still want you to be box to box, but the emphasis on your game has got to stop the opposition. Rather than just go and play your game. Go and play what you're good at. And that's keeping the ball, getting involved. But he seems lost without Bruno. And that's one thing I noticed, like I say, and that's why I started the show with that, because like I say, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. But I'm going to go back to the points that we were making because, like I say, for me, even though we score 4 goals at the Earl Dickinson Stadium against Everton the weekend, you may have expected a little bit of a continuity, a continuation of where you've got. Even though we had 19 shots at goal against Spurs yesterday, and again, I think that just shows you where we were regarding the domination of the game, because I do believe that Newcastle played a lot better than Spurs did. There was only 7 shots on target, and out of those 7 shots, we really didn't test Vicario that much, as in making him, dive into the corners. A lot of them shots that were registering were directly at him. And then obviously we only got the 2 goals, one being a penalty. So nothing from open play apart from that really good shot from Bruno that really tested Vicario. What do you think that is? Why do you think we can have a really purple patch when it comes to playing the likes of Everton away from home? And then when we come to playing Tottenham, who are all over the place at the moment, functional, playing ability, confidence, they're all over the shop. You could see that yesterday. Thomas Frank was obviously trying to do different things. He was shouting different instructions on the side. They looked a team inept of ideas. But why were Newcastle so poor in that final third?
It's a hard one to answer, Gary. I think ball retention's a little bit of it. Baltimore certainly didn't have a very good game. In a game we didn't really have options on the bench to come on. Obviously, if we'd been ahead, you could potentially have been well ahead, sorry. So if you're like 3-4-0 up, you could have brought the young lad on, but then we wouldn't have been in the situation we're in. The situation we're in, it was sort of, Eddie's hands were sort of tied behind his back a little bit because, as I say, it definitely wasn't Baltimore's best game, but there wasn't really. I mean, his only option would have been to put Gordon up front, but I think the fans would have went nuts if he'd done that. So it was a tough one for Eddie.
Yeah.
I think it's also lacking that player who can hit something from distance as well. And it goes back to football in general, where those types of players aren't around as they used to be. And I think teams miss a trick where you don't want to get a player inside a lot for the fact that they can strike from distance. Because I do think Spurs, while they offered nothing going forward for a lot of the game, they were set up defensively quite well. And it's the same old thing where we're playing against a low block. And again, that's what we struggle against. Against Everton, they were 1-0 down within seconds. So they had to come out and they had to try and chase the game, and that played in our hands. And we scored goals. Whereas with this one, again, we struggle to break them down. So I think in those moments, it'd be nice to have someone who can hit something from 20, 30 yards to test someone like Vicario, who I think is shaky at times. And like you say, he's got off lightly. I mean, he was a bit better against us than what he has been, but he was let off lightly, I thought, in that game.
Yeah, when you said about the low block, we still got 19 shots off, even against a team that were pretty negative, if you like, coming out from that defensive zone. But only 7 on target. And if I'm honest with you, I can't remember that many shots that were from outside the box out of those 19 attempts. Andy, can you?
I'm just thinking of Eddie.
Yeah, well, Miley's was on the edge of the box.
Yeah, Miley's was.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that's probably, and Bruno's was a little bit on the edge of the box on the angle. But I can't remember, if I'm honest with you, Tim, that many shots outside the box yesterday. And maybe that is the reason. Are we trying to play too much of a pretty game? Are we trying to play just, play for the crowd rather than play for the win?
Tippy-tappy football ball.
Yeah. And again, you're looking at the summer signing, and again, I don't want to highlight him, but again, we have to look at where we are. He had 36 touches of the ball and lost possession 12 times yesterday, and could only muster 2 shots at goal himself. And again, you've got to ask, was he too isolated on his own up there? And like I say, with the way Eddie Howe set up, hugging those touch lines with both Barnes, Gordon, Murphy. I don't know what Murphy was doing. I think he was hugging the linesman because he certainly wasn't playing football.
Only thing, right, say about Murphy, right, is he did play that ball inside down the line to Joe Linton and
Yeah,
opened them up.
yeah,
Do you know, like,
yeah,
even Murphy, when he has a really bad game, he's still capable of those moments, I think, of opening teams up that way, that left foot pass. So I'll give him that,
yeah.
and I
But
think that's why
it's
he's
that
a
one
better
moment,
option than
though, isn't
mine.
it, dude? It's
It
like I
is.
said. If you think right, he was sloppy. When you think he had 10 attempts at crossing and he only crossed 3 out of the 10, that to me
Hmm.
is a player that's like I said. Where's your mindset? It just doesn't seem as though they're concentrating on what their individual roles, were to do. And there was a couple of times where me and Andy was shouting, "Cross the ball!"
Yeah.
There was opportunities. Just cross the ball. There's bodies in the box. And
Yeah.
then what the frustrating part is when they cross the ball, there's no bugger in the box, and you're like, are you actually looking before you cross the ball at what you're crossing to, or you're just literally playing, I'll do my part. I'm going to cross it. If you're not there, that ain't my fault. It
Thing is,
doesn't
though,
say.
Gary, right?
Go on, mate.
Like, sorry, it's just like a lot of the time, it's not crossed first time. They take a touch, and again, I sound all like an old man. I'm harping about the same thing, but back in the day, it was common sense that if you have the ball laid out to you on the wing,
Mm.
and it's perfectly in your path, you cross that first time, and it's not necessarily for your own teammates as well. It can, if it's in that corridor of uncertainty, the defender can put it in their own net, or they put it out
Yeah,
for a corner, and
yeah,
you go from
absolutely.
there.
Yeah,
And it's that mentality of we're going to put the opposition under pressure, and we're going to test them. We're going to test the defenders, and we're going to test that goalkeeper, and that comes in many forms. And this tippy tappy stuff has kind of infected the game in a way where common sense like that is out the window. And instead of crossing the first time, wingers and fullbacks will take a touch, come back inside, and then they might cross it. But by that point, everyone's marked up, the defense is set, and it's much easier to defend. So I think that kind of free flowing play, if you like, I think isn't there at times, and it's maybe at times a case of being overcoached. And
yeah,
I think it is a case of Pep's influence on football. As good as a coach he is, he's one of the best, obviously. It's harsh to single him out, but I think his knock-on effect on the game, I think, for me, has been detrimental to kind of attacking play in football, certainly the Premier League, but everywhere, really.
But
yeah,
but in the first 20 minutes, Gary, we both said, "Oh, this is good." When they had the ball, they had 4 players in the box, and the balls. Fair enough, the balls didn't go in very well, but like at least we look like we're attacking here. Where the midfielders are getting into the box, it's working. But as you see, after the 20 minutes, it just stopped happening. There was
it
either
was
one
just
or
nothing,
two
was
players
it?
in the box or nobody.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, I often say games are won and lost through the midfield. That's always been, every coach looks through the spine of the team. So you look at your goalkeeper, through your 2 centre halves, 2 midfielders out of the 3, regarding of your system that you're playing, and then you're looking at your 1 or 2 attackers through the middle of the park. The peripheries then. Like I say, you want somebody who can beat a player, somebody who can cross a ball. All those little niggly bits. Then you try and marry through that spine of the team. So this is why I question about J7 being included in most games. Right now, this is just his game against Spurs. He had 49 touches. Now for a centre midfielder, that's on the lower side. And again, through the first half, and correct me if I'm wrong, Balky, how many times did you mention J7?
I forgot he was playing.
Well, yeah, even you said, "Oh, is that J7 on the ball now?" And it was like, again, you talk about carrying players. So he had 49 touches, pass accuracy 83% because he was passing the short balls, but he lost possession out of those 49 touches 11 times. Now, people then will argue the point that he's in there for his combat, he's in there for the spoiler, he's in there to obviously compete. He won 3 out of 10 ground duels against not really a strong midfield, because none of them midfielders you would class as being, nasty or
Yeah.
very hard, and he got dribbled past 3 times. I mean, I'll give him his due. He did do one key pass through his time. But again, we were asking the question during the game, why is this player still on the field of play? What is it about J7 that Eddie Howe is frightened to bring off?
Yeah. I can stay on past half past, just to let you know, Gary. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think J7, I think he has improved. Look, I think obviously we're kind of lambasting him, and I do think he has improved his touch and stuff since he's moved into midfield all those years ago. But I just think that in certain games like this, when we're at home and the onus is on us to break this team down, and also play quick football. It's not just about creating chances; it's about playing that quick football where you don't need to take 4 or 5 touches to move the ball on. I think that's where, like I've said, Ramsey could come in. And the annoying thing is that, you know, with Joe Linton is like the journey he's had with us has been so great and how he's turned things around. But you don't want to play a player like that into the ground whereby fans then become kind of sick of him, if you like. And I'm not saying that everyone's sick of Joe Linton right now, and he rightly gets applauded at St James's at the ground and stuff. But I just think you don't want to wear players out until like they're done, and it's like, okay, they're no use anymore. But if they'd actually been played more often, like here and there more often, then their usefulness, you know, is clear to see, as opposed to being burnt out where it's like he's not offering us what we need.
Yeah, you know, for me, it is about trying to get your best 11 on the field of play. So again, optics, giving all of players that have been at the levels that you want to see them throughout the side. This is the team that have performed in positions so far this season. Now, obviously, Voltemada up top hasn't got much competition yet. I mean, Vissa did come through another behind-the-scenes game last night. And again, I'm going to say it because I've seen on the reports that there's been an issue with Wissa, and he could be out till February, right? Then I've heard other reports saying he's actually come through unscathed. I've had a look on the Newcastle website, right? And there's nothing at all. Even though on the social media, and this was literally 3 hours before we started the show, so around about 4:30, 5 o'clock, Newcastle themselves on X said that there's been an issue with Vissa and he will not be playing now until February. I think it's a hoax. I'm hoping it's a hoax. Yeah, because everywhere else I've looked, there is no mention of it. But for me, this is literally the lineup that I'd play. The back four stays the same because, again, and you're quite right, I could have put Shaw in there because his metrics aren't bad. Lewis Hall and Tino, you know exactly what they are. I've left Ramsdale in because, again, between the two keepers, and again, I was a little bit confused last night when everybody was blaming Ramsdale for actually letting that ball in, and that's something we're going to come to in a second. Midfield, Bruno, Miley and Tonali. Again, your metrics, for me, Miley stays on the right-hand side, comfortable on the ball, plays simple, gets backwards and forwards, can slot into that right back when Tino goes forward. I have no issues with that. The only questionable is Tonali. And again, the reasons why I say questionable, we know how Hall likes to go forward. So it would mean the likes of Dan Burn moving across into that half space in between Bruno and Lewis Hall's position at left back to cover that on our movement forward. But Barnes, and I've put Willock on the right-hand side because the couple of games that Willock's done a cameo appearance on that right-hand side, his output has been better than Elanga and better than Murphy. So I've gone with Willock, even though I believe Willock will be gone in January. But again, from what I've seen, right, why doesn't Eddie Howe give him a go? Because he's done all right. Why don't you just say to the lad, if Murphy's not playing well, and you don't want to upset the balance of your midfield, and you've got somebody like Willock who's willing to run with the ball, 30, 40 yards into those half spaces, a lot more than Murphy was willing to do. Give him a chance. And then bring Elanga on for that pace if you want to in the last 20 minutes, because we all know that Willock is going to burn out on the hour mark. But I can't understand why he just doesn't change it up a little bit. It makes no sense for me. But yeah, that is my 11. If you look at the metrics, these are the guys that are giving you the best output. Obviously, we haven't seen Tonali in that space, but I've looked at his metrics in that left midfield from his international duty, and it's 7.8 to 8 if you look at his merit stars when he's playing on there. And it's somewhere in between 4 and 8, if memory serves me right. And I never trust my memory at the best of times. But I think it's between 4 and 8 key passes or chance creations from that left side of midfield. How much did he do yesterday? Not a one. How much did J7 do? He had one key pass. You know what I mean? So if you look at all of these elements of what I'm saying, and I know people say you shouldn't rely on metrics to get you the results, they tell you where you're playing well. And I think that is what people fail to look at the best of times. If a player's doing all right in that position, you don't have to change it because he's doing it on a continual basis. And you can't look at metrics for one game. You have to see them, as you guys have already said, like with Ramsey coming in. You've got to see him over a period of time to judge him for the player that he could be potentially on that left centre midfield role. And for me, that would be ideal, because then you've got somebody that can come in and out the side that you don't lose a little bit of that balance. The problem is if you lose Miley out of that midfield now, yes, Bruno can slot in there, but again, you lose that little bit of momentum. And that's why I quite like the fact that they are looking at a midfielder in January that could potentially come in and potentially cover that loose slot, if you like. So let's have a quick look then, because like I say, there's a lot of conversations about whose fault it was when it comes to the goal, the second goal from last night. I mean, like I said, people will always say that the goal that was conceded by Newcastle was Ramsdale's problem. There's a couple of quite good slots, and I can see it here. Let me just stop that there because I'm going to share this. And like I say, because of copyright and things like that, I have to be careful. But what I want you guys to have a look at here is how this ball comes in at a little bit of pace. I have no issues with the way we set up to defend. Not a problem to me. But it literally is what happens after the ball comes into the box. And for me, this is where it becomes a little bit criminal. Ball comes into the box. I'm going to stop it there, right? There's a tussle here. You can see where my cursor is. And again, we all know Richarlison throws himself to the ground a lot of the time. You're defending on the 4-yard mark. Again, all the boys are looking at the ball. Again, I have no issues with that. Ramsdale has got room to come through two bodies to get a punch on it. Now, his punch doesn't go far. It goes in the air. Now, this is the part for me, right? There you go. He gets a punch on it. Like I say, he gets high in the air, and everybody is going to react to this, right? So you've mentioned Anthony Gordon. Here's Anthony Gordon. I've got Lewis Hall at the back there. And where are you? Oh, there he is. We're gonna see Elanga, right? Do something in a minute. So the ball's gone in the air. There's Elanga. Yep. Now we still can't see the ball. So you've got three bodies, two watching the ball, three watching the ball, right? And one player. He's out of the picture. I don't know who this is. I think this could be that Otterberg that come on in the second half. Now it's still now look, right? Yeah. No commitment. Just watching the ball. They're not looking at this player at all, Romero. They're just watching the ball. Where's the ball is going to be delivered coming down. And again, we still haven't seen the ball from that height, from the clearance. but he's still got time to weigh this ball up, right? And now, look.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I need to ask you guys, right? We're defending a corner, right? These are your centre halves. There's your Dan Burn, there's your Malik Chow, and there's your Shaw, right? All in a line. Now, if you have a look at Ramsdale, to see this ball, now, when Romero kicks this ball, it actually doesn't make a very clean contact. It comes off his shin, hence there's no pace on the ball. But the weight of Ramsdale is on his left foot because he's trying to see where the ball's coming. He can't see this. It's coming through a line of body, so he's trying to look on the left-hand side to get some idea of where this ball is going to come back to him. So it comes down, and now, right, you can see him. He's down. He's looking to see where the ball's coming through. But you've got Dan Burn standing right in front of him. It's come past Shaw. Now it's coming by Malik Chow. So you're thinking, there's me 3 centre-halves. It's going to be cleared. That's what's on your mind as a keeper. It's coming directly to him. It's going to be cleared. Now, again, you can see from that picture there, weight on his left foot, right? So, there. The ball gets left by everybody. Nobody commits themselves to it, by which time now it's too far away from Ramsdale to get a hand to it. And it goes in the back of the net. And for me, watching that over and over and over again, I can't do nothing but give the blame towards Elanga and Louis Saul for not competing. Because the ball's in the air for so long, unless you go and challenge, you're giving a player. And yes, Romero, got it on target. I'm not going to knock it. It's an overhead kick. It's a cycle kick. He does well to connect to it, but there's no pace on the ball. But there wouldn't have even been the opportunity to have that if there was somebody competing with him. Because if you go with your head, with your foot that high, what does the referee do?
Yeah.
Blows for a foul.
Gary, can we just catch up on this super chat from Tony?
You can.
How? Wearing the same glasses as Win last night.
Tony, yeah, absolutely, mate. But do you understand what I'm saying? When I watched that, I was fuming last night. Absolutely.
I watched it back today, and that's what I noticed about Elanga. And what? Even if you get goal side, just get goal side of Romero.
Yeah.
Even if you're going to jump for, at least if you goal side, then that ball either hits you, or like you say, the referee gives a free kick because he's doing a bicycle kick right next to a Newcastle player. So just get goal side. But even then, you want to be looking and jumping for the ball. Like, you're just trotting over. And I agree, Lewis Hall as well. And I know my team harsh, but I think Anthony Gordon, he's actually running away from the ball. If you look at it, the ball's dropping down. He's running away from it.
Yeah.
And he might be thinking about counter-attack, fine, but that is not the time to be thinking that.
You're in the lead, aren't you? Yeah.
Exactly.
Hold on to the lead. It's about management of the lead.
Like, and the ball's in the air for so long, you've literally got time to look up and see where the ball is and also see where the Spurs player is. So you can match the two. You've got the time to do that. So it's okay, it's going down Romero. Right, I'm going to get over there. I don't understand why those three players didn't do that.
No,
Gary, this maybe isn't a point about this goal, but can you just bring the slide up again? If you look, all 10 of our all 10 outfield players are in the box.
Yeah.
Every single outfield player is in the box. So even the Spurs don't have any pressure or thoughts about having to defend anything. If you had the likes of an Elanga or maybe a couple of players outside the box, maybe they stand 22 yards up towards the halfway line, it means that Spurs have to put a few players back to manage in case we get a counter-attack. In this situation, firstly, I think you can sometimes have too many players in the box when you defend in a corner, which I think is partly what's happened there. And secondly, as I say, there's no out ball for you. Literally, if we clear that ball, it's just going to come straight back at us.
Well, what you've just said there, right? Let's take it to that notch further, Andy, because for the amount of effort that Elanga puts in that challenge there, which was non-existent, he may as well have been standing on the halfway line. Because, like you said, he would at least give Spurs something to think about. You know what I mean? Rather than just stand like a bloody statue. Or is he asking for the statue outside St James's Park? Because that to me is exactly the amount of use he was going or competing for that ball. And like I say, at this level, it's moments like that that win and lose your games, because the keeper expects somebody to do something. I've done my bit. We've just talked about players with crosses. I've done my bit. I've cleared what I can. Yeah, it's not far, but I've got my hand to it. It's cleared enough. It's elevated enough for half of these bodies to actually get to the ball. And that is what annoys me, right? How many other players are static, right, and just watching the ball? There is not enough black and white shirts there with the guts, the endeavour to go and win that ball when it's coming from the height.
100%. But again, there's in my view, in front of the keeper, because we had the three centre halves on and so many players, every other player in the box, there's just too many people around in that box for us. And I know it's a strange thing to say at a corner, because you think, well, you have to defend it, but you also have to be able to have space to be able to clear a ball. And sometimes, if you like it did there, I think each of them probably thought a little bit in their own head, I don't really need to stretch or to go for this because there's people behind us.
Yeah. I mean, Foxy's put something in the chat there saying about, as a Premier League player, you expect them to do better. You're not going to get everything right all of the time. We see that. Whatever you're doing, you do your best. But he's punched it in the air. You know what I mean? It's not gone far. He's punched it in the air. You can't tell me that is Ramsdale's fault. If anybody can tell me that's Ramsdale's fault, that we've conceded that goal, I want to know what you guys watch. Because I'll tell you something now, I would not, as a coach, I've got my UEFA B badge, as a coach, I would not be blaming Ramsdale on that. I would be questioning 4 to 5 players around the ball when it drops, and why you haven't challenged for that ball.
Plus,
I do
as
not
well,
understand that.
Like the player who did actually make contact with the ball, Romero, was on the ground when the ball was punched up in the air, unlike most of our players who were on the feet. Yet he's still the first one to get at that dropping ball.
Yeah.
That makes it even worse. He's straight up from the ground. Right, I'm going to get that.
Exactly.
And
That's what I said. He's got the mentality.
Just watching. Aye.
It's mental, mate. That's what I said. I listened to Eddie Howe's words afterwards about man management, and I think Boki's hit the nail on the head, because what Boki said there, too many players in the 6-yard box. Are we now in this situation where we're defending, and we know how difficult Newcastle have made it themselves when they go onto this low block situation? Are we then going into that situation, that mentality, it's somebody else's job? Because we've got bodies behind. Oh, I could leave that because he's close to it. I'll leave that, rather than taking control of the situation individually.
I think that's what's happened there.
Absolutely.
I think one thinks, oh, he's got it, and the other one thinks, oh, well, he's got it. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all static. There's too many static bodies in the middle. And then the problem is Ramsdale can't see anything. So naturally, he takes a little bit of a left look around Dan Burns, who's standing directly in front of him, expecting Chow to get something on it so he can then become more central. It's that narrow, I don't want to point the finger at anybody else situation. Oh, let's give the keeper the blame. That is far from that situation.
Gary, if you remember, just before this goal, when Shaw had come on, you said to me, is putting Shaw on the right decision? And I says, I don't disagree with it. But then I seen the way the team was starting to line up, and basically Baltimore was no further forward than 22 yards, and the back four in defence were in basically within a few foot of each other. And I says to you that, this is what's wrong. We shouldn't be going this defensive. And then straight away after that, they went on to score the goal.
That's the problem, not having the out ball. I do understand Eddie Howe where the Spurs are throwing Romero up front, so they've got 3 up front. So I understand you want to combat that and get an extra centre back on, but when you haven't got an outlet and you've got Voltamada who can't go in behind, then, like you say, Borky, that then leads to what you're saying there. And you could have put Willock on the right, like you've put there, Gary, and then said to Elanga, you may not move in the middle. It's just purely a pace thing, and we're going to clip balls in behind for the rest of the game for you to chase. There's nothing complicated about it. And then I think that the centre backs can mop things up easily, or more easier, because they can get off the pitch a bit more because we've got that outlet.
Yeah,
So I think that was the problem, I think.
Do you think
yeah.
that's a point, Gary, that Steve Walder's brought up there, that the defender switched off slightly because Ronaldo had his back to the goal, so they sort of weren't expecting to do what he did.
The problem is, you see, at this level, and like I say, this to me is Sunday League football, right? This is what I watch on a Sunday afternoon when I go and look at kids. I have to be careful how you say that these days, because that is the mentality of children. You know, the ball's in the air and they watch it bounce, and then all of a sudden, and you're right, you know, for a split second, everybody can look at my Romero and say, "I've got me back to the goal. He's a centre half. What's he going to do against us?" You got me.
Yeah.
And it's about the mentality, and that's why I keep going on that vibe, because Newcastle, at this present moment in time, the mental approach to defending a game should be attack, because that is what they're good at. They are no good at defending a game. Full stop. Whether you're leading, you're defending, and let's go on the other. Put the shoe on the other foot. How many points has Newcastle gained in a losing position this
This
season?
Won't be many, will it?
I don't
None.
think there is any. I was going to say it. I don't think there are any.
So, like I said, what you have with what you have with Eddie Howe, and this is why I can understand why people start naming and shaming, if you like, with the Eddie Howe situation, right? He hasn't got the mentality or the approach or the players, and you can name whichever way you want, to change a game, to chase the game when you're losing. He hasn't got the mentality, the capabilities, the coaching skills or whatever to manage a game, to see a game out when you're winning a game. Where do you stand?
I think you know where I stand.
And that is, to me, why I often say, you know, if this continues to happen, and listen, I applaud what the lad has done and what the lad has brought to Newcastle, but you cannot still, at this level, be looking at that and saying, oh, you're in the team against Burnley the weekend. Because to me, that would be the first droppable offence. And I'd be questioning every player on that park. And I'd be saying, the first person that gives me an answer why you didn't challenge for that will get a selection box tomorrow type of situation. You know, because there isn't an answer, apart from it's your job, you deal with it. And everybody has literally just passed the book. And that is criminal at this level of football. And that's why I said, for me, when you look at pointing a finger, and again, Marseille, you can point a finger at Pope. There was no need for that mental approach to that situation. Here, there's no need for panic. You've just got to compete for the ball that's in the air. You know, Tim, I know you've got to go, buddy. So
I'm okay for now, Gary. I'm okay
all
for
right,
now.
buddy. Just let me know if you want to jump out at any moment, because what I want to go to next is the question on everybody's tongue. And I mean, we are going to spend the last half an hour, if you like, looking at Burnley. And again, what potentially could be our team against Burnley. I keep having a look at how they're doing tonight. I think they're losing. Where do you stand on this penalty decision that was awarded to Newcastle? Because there's been a hell of a lot of talk now about the referee last night. And I thought he had a half-decent game, if I'm honest with you. He wasn't really involved in a lot, let game go. I don't know where he got the 9 minutes from at the end of the match, because there was very few breaks in that game. I mean, how many minutes did he give in the first half? Was it one?
Oh, I think it was
1 minute.
So
Yeah.
where did he get the 9 minutes from for the
Exactly.
second half? I
Who
mean,
was
apart
injured?
from the penalty call and stuff like that, because it did
Yeah,
take a
that-
while.
Yeah, that was the one thing. But did a physio come in that pitch at any time?
No.
Maybe they did. I don't. Right, they didn't. So I couldn't remember that. So there's no physios coming on, no treatments. I didn't see much time wasting throughout the game. So where on earth has those 9 minutes came from? And I think I'm getting really sick of this kind of outlook from officials now, where you've got to be adding all these minutes on, at the end of the game, supposedly to clamp down on time wasting. Okay, fine, if it is that sort of game, fine, I kind of get it. But it's like the norm now to have 9 minutes added on. That's like ridiculous amount of time. If that was added on, 10 years ago, there'd be like eyebrows raised saying, what's going on here?
What's going on? Yeah, exactly.
So why is that now normal? It's just wrong for me. And in terms of the penalty, Gary, right? Sorry, Boy, go on.
No, but I was just going to say, in this day and age, I'll never understand why a referee's still on the pitch with a watch on trying to time the match. Why don't they have an official clock that times the game?
Yeah.
And then there's no arguments.
Yeah.
I mean, I just find it all a little bit on that point of, like I say, at this present moment in time, it feels very much as though the officials are pressured now to put, what we call Liverpool time on. It used to be Fergie time. It just seems now Liverpool and Arsenal time. Like I said, I agree with what Wynn says. Have a stopwatch so everybody can see. When the ball goes out of play, stop it. How hard is it to press a button? You know what I mean? Seriously, how hard is it to press a button, start and stop a button, start and stop, start and stop? I mean, even the fourth official, get something in his pocket and just stops. Because what does he do, during the game apart from support? So
I do agree, Gary. Just on that point, Gary, I just think one of the things that might stop that is the commercial side, where TV companies then will not know necessarily when a game will finish. If that makes sense. I know obviously now it's the case with added time anyway, but you can say it's not going to be more than 10 minutes normally anyway. And obviously that's a lot anyway. But I think if there's a stopwatch, who knows how long? Do you know what I mean? The game will go on for, and therefore the TV companies can't schedule things as they want. I think that might well play a factor. Unfortunately, because I do agree in theory, I think that would work.
Yeah, like I say, for me, 60 minutes ball in play, and like I say, get on with it. As soon as that 60 minutes is done, over the 90, it's sorted. Get it done. Because at the minute, you're looking at between 48 and 52 minutes during a 90-minute period that the actual ball's in play. So it's even though it seems as though you're being shortchanged if you're a fair player. Going to the game week in, week out with your tickets, you'd think that you're being a little bit done here. This is Jamie O'Hara. I mean, I must admit, I don't really listen to a word this bloke says because he's totally biased anyway. But this did make me laugh. The bias that comes from this lad. And then, we're going to go on to a couple more after this. But this did make me laugh.
But that penalty decision, mate, that is a disgrace. That is honestly one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. I mean, Dan Burns got him in a headlock. I don't know what Benson Caw's meant to do. All right, you say, he's not looking at the ball. He's not. Well, he's got him in a headlock.
I happen to think the VAR does not need to get involved in that one, right? And I heard Troy and I heard Sam doing the comms saying definitely penalty. The problem you've got is Benson Caw don't look at the ball. He don't look at it once. And that puts him... It's not a good look, Jay. You can't not look at the ball. And you can't win the ball.
It's man and ball defending from a corner, right? Isn't it?
But you've got to be able to see the
watch your man, and you're trying to see the ball, but you mark your man. But he didn't. He hasn't got the opportunity to look at the ball when the ball comes in because Dan Burn has him in a headlock.
No, he doesn't have him in a headlock. He doesn't have him in a headlock. Jay, he's not got him in a headlock. Right, look, do you want me to put you in a headlock? Right, and I'll show what a headlock looks like.
Got no chance. Put me in a headlock.
Get round that neck.
I'm going to stop it there because it does go on for a few minutes. But like I said, it's typical bias, if I'm honest with you. And it was exactly the same. And we talk about Brighton were 2-0 up against Aston Villa. Aston Villa are now 3-2 up. Like I said, you're looking at managers that can change when you're chasing a game. And like I say, Unai Emery has done just that for Aston Villa.
It would have to have been the strangest headlock ever, Gary, as well, because me and you both said when the penalty was given, Dan Burns' arms were out by his side. He deliberately put his arms out so the referee could see he wasn't grabbing onto the player. So it would be impossible for him to have in a headlock because his arms were he was like an aeroplane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, I've got his headlock here. Look, mate, this is Dan Burns' headlock. Wait, look.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. He hardly touches him. Look.
I set you up for that one. I don't even know.
Absolutely, that's perfect. Listen, I understand, right? The one thing for me though, again, we talk about continuity, don't we? We talk about referees not really doing it game in, game out, because that's what it needs. For this to go out the game, look at that. Mighty Wins come in there. Thanks, Mighty. 59 minutes, did he say there, ball in play?
He did, yeah. Average in the Premier League.
Thanks, dude. I hope you've had a good evening, by the way. He's, if anybody's wondering where the Mighty Win is, he will be on the late show. He's been invited to Newcastle. Have you been invited to Nottingham as well, potentially? I don't know. He's been invited to the supporters group thing tonight at Newcastle. So he's going to feed you all the news and
one
details.
Of the few chosen ones.
Yeah, exactly. This is obviously Talk Sports version, the early with Murphy and Jordan having a discussion. And again, it goes on the same things, Is it a silly one? Why isn't it happening in every game? Because you see this in every game. But I think, Dan Murphy has a good view of this, as in, when he played, and like I say, when I played, I didn't see that type of. I never see blocking. You block a run, but you don't do what he did here. I mean, if you look at Dan Burns there, I suppose you could say there was a bit of an arm lock. It was a boxer's headlock, wasn't it, if you like, with gloves on, if you like, if you were following that rule there. But let's listen to what these guys have had to say. Oh, I haven't switched it on. Apologies.
The argument around why is that given and so many others aren't for the same thing, I think is fair. We see that getting unpunished every week. So that, I feel for Tottenham in that respect. It looked like a nothing coming together. What I would say is that any set-piece coach who is allowing or working with his players on defending against anybody with your back to the ball, trying to block people and stop people while you're not looking at the ball, should be replaced. Because as soon as you do that, you are A, inviting the possibility of a penalty, and B, you're making it impossible to defend the ball in if he
happens all the time though, Danny.
It's absolutely
corner after corner.
Bizarre. You cannot defend properly when your back is to the ball. It's impossible. The only thing you can do is grapple and obstruct, which leaves you open for a pen, which is what they got. So, although I don't think it was a pen, if you give the referee the opportunity, like Bentancur did...
So they must be coached that way, mustn't they?
Are
they coached that way, or is it just the player taking ultimate control of his own destiny, which will be first on the field?
I would love to know, because I've never, in all my years of working in football, with some of the great defenders and good coaches, never, ever seen anyone say, do you know what, don't worry about the ball. Blocks. You can block without having your back to the ball, by the way.
You've never heard that being said?
No.
But you've seen it being done?
Seen it being done.
So someone must have, what, they're just making it up on the spur then?
I think it's become a little bit of a fad at the moment where people think that's the best way to stop people scoring and they're getting away with it.
We've mentioned this on multiple occasions now, haven't we, with Voltemada? Yeah? The way he is being grappled now and manhandled, and because of his stature, would make a good barrister. Yeah, you'd lose, mate. You'd be spending time behind the bars, kidder. More than Windows, if I'm honest with you. If I was your barrister, I mean, when you look at it, you do. I do understand where Murphy's coming from here. There is ways of doing it, but this does seem to be the norm now in games, doesn't it?
Aye, and you know what, right? This reaction to this penalty, I think, is part of the problem that hinders refereeing from improving, because this kind of polarization of like Rio Ferdinand, for example, saying what he said, this is a disgrace, and all this sort of wording on that decision. There's a time and a place, I think, to call a decision a disgrace. I think common sense, we all can, when we all see it's an incident, and we all know when something is being like really, really wrong. But when something like that happens, right? Okay, you know what? I can see on the one hand why Spurs fans or anybody would look at that and say, well, it's a tussle. Just let it go. It's part of the game in terms of physicality. We don't want to be too pedantic looking at everything. I kind of get that in one way, but on the flip side, anybody with common sense can also see that Bentancur isn't looking at the ball. He's got no intention of playing the ball, and he's literally blocking down Burn, right? So to come out, right, and to not acknowledge both those perspectives and to land on a view where it's a disgrace, it's this, it's that, all that does is add the fuel to the fire of this atmosphere around refereeing. And all it does is put referees on edge. It puts more focus on VAR. Everything is looked at through a microscope even more because everyone's on edge about this supposed crisis that refereeing needs to improve. And the real problems then don't get highlighted and everything's a mishmash. And suddenly every decision is a supposed disgrace. So the lack of maturity from people not to just be able to call this out where, you know what, I can see why it was given. I might not agree, but I can see why it was given. It is a problem. And even managers, you know, Thomas Frank, I like him. I like him, but even just for managers not to come out and say, you know what, I'm going to take the emotion out if I can. And okay, I don't agree, but I can see why it was given. To be so black and white about these things is just so, I'm sick of it. You know what I mean? It's tiresome. And all it does is create problems for the game.
Yeah, and like I say, just so everybody can see that I'm actually not lying about this, I'm going to put it up on the screen. So this is that thing. Oh, Leeds have just gone 2-0 up against Chelsea, and Burnley are losing 1-0 at home to Crystal Palace. So this is the account that I was telling you about, right? So Newcastle United, there you can see on the screen. Now, if I scroll down, obviously the first one is about the lad going to Crawley Town from Cork City. Then the next one, look. Striker, Johan Wissa has suffered a setback in his return from injury and will not be available for selection until February 26 at the earliest. We are all behind you, Wissa. What do you think?
Is that definitely the official account?
Well, like I said, I've just put Newcastle in. You can see it up here. Look, I'm not verbing you. That's to me is Newcastle account. But again, it's got at Percy Cola here, look. So I'm thinking, oh, where's Parody that come from? Yeah, it is a Parody account. Yeah, there. I've just seen it. Oh, I'll tell you something now. When I looked at that, I'm like, what the heck are you doing to me? Yeah, you're right. It's a Parody account.
I've just had a quick look. There's nothing on the official website.
No, that's what I said. I'd gone onto the official website and I'm doing exactly the same. I'm like, surely they would have announced that if they've put it on X. But you're right, mate. I've just seen Parody account exactly as I've watched it a second time. You know, when you're going through things and scrolling. And that
I bet that was nice to read, Gary, when you think that's true. Jesus.
Oh, geez, I'll tell you something now. You know, for the show, you have to research so many different things.
Christina Cage says, I've not heard this, so it's not true.
Well, of course, Christina. Absolutely, sweetheart. If you've not heard it, then it ain't there. 2,788 followers is the giveaway. Well, you know what? That to me is a thing because somebody had taken a picture in the crowd. Was the Gary, who here, mate? I saw myself there. Ronnie, me too, mate. When I said it, and like I say, it wasn't until I noticed. The lads coming onto the late show are running a little bit late, so like I say, we'll stay on board until they're ready, and we'll go with it. Before we get into the Burnley game and like your thoughts regarding the Burnley, it looks like everybody's coming at me now. BS, it's not the Toon account. I mean, I know now. I've seen it, but you know when you just glimpse. And again, I was fast reading. I wasn't looking at it with any stature. To be fair, that's why I thought I'd put it back on there because I'm thinking it ain't me, is it? But then I've just noticed. You know when you're relaxed because you've got your content for the show, and you're like, oh, I've just seen Parody account. What you doing, you lad? There's been a report from La Gazzetta. Del Sport that Newcastle are interested in Alessandro Buonguino. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about him because, like I say, I don't know a lot about him. Foxy, if you're in the chat, he's a left centre back because obviously there's still a lot of talk. And again, I want to ask you. We've heard about Botman and his back injury, right? We've heard that he's only actually been available for Newcastle 45%. of his time, and there is concerns over his continued fitness issues. Do you reckon that that's an area for Newcastle now going forward that they need to fill? If the rumours on the mill, he's not going to, his last 18 months of his contract, Liverpool interested. We don't want another Isaac situation, do we?
I think it's good if we're getting records in place in case he does go. So if we are starting to look at players, and it's good that we're not just looking for Premier League players or big names, that we're actually widening the net. So you never know whether hopefully it's not to replace Botman, because I think Botman's a class act. But if it is, then it's a good route to go down. Hopefully it could just be a squad, another youngster or a squad player who can make the way into the team. I mean, Dan Burns is not going to last forever, as well as the other side of the coin.
That's what I'm saying. Dan Burn, 33. I mean, listen, that's what I'm saying. We were talking yesterday, Bulky, about this, weren't we? Dan Burn, 33, Botman, 24, and yet Botman can, he is the Rolls Royce always in the garage, according to Win. There's obviously concerns there, mate. There's got to be, isn't there? And like you say, Shaw, he always seems to keep himself pretty decent, pretty trim. Very rarely misses a game. I mean, I remember last season where, we are desperate for a right centre-back. We were all saying, what happens to Shaw if Shaw goes down? Because we don't really seem to have any cover there with Lascelles being out. Then everybody's talking about, well, Crafty's never let us down, and you're like, you don't want makeshifts, right? In those important positions, do you?
You need backup players, but you as you say, you don't want them to be. You should never. I think with the likes of Kraft, you should be planning for him to be in the squad, but never planning for him to be rotated into the team. He's a good squad player, and then if you do start to then get injuries, or you're massively up in a game and you can give him a few minutes just to keep his hand in with the first team, you do that sort of thing. But you certainly don't plan him into being part of the rotation of your main team as such.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it'd be interesting to have a bit of a look at this lad. Like I say, I haven't had much chance to look. I mean, he's 26-year-old left centre back for Napoli. Seems as though Napoli seems to be the club to go to Newcastle. It's like a feeder club at the minute with all the rumours that are out there. The talk is about €70 million release clause, but the fee potentially could be negotiated. They reckon his playing style, he uses his height, well, I'm glad about that, as a centre-back, and strength to physically command in defence. He's known for his passing, concentration, and ability to play short passes. Like I say, that sounds like Dan Burn. But, I mean, like I say, for me, as you said, if the rumours are correct and Botman wants guaranteed minutes, if he's going to continue negotiating his contract, I'm sure. We all listen to what the boss says, and he says he doesn't listen to social media. We know the lads do. We know what's been out there on social media regarding Botman and all. So, again, I haven't really seen or read Botman's body language as a positive for a long time, I must admit.
I don't think Botman ever really shows much emotion.
I agree with that.
Ever since he's been here, and I think that's probably a little bit of the fact why people, maybe it's a little bit why I do it as well. I think he's such a good defender is because he reminds us of sort of the stoic the stoic sort of person who'll go out and just fight to the death. He's just got that look about him.
But is that to his detriment, though, as well, though? Because you see other defenders, even Malik Chow the other day when he made that challenge, in front of the crowd, it was like he's celebrating a goal. You never see that from Botman.
You would never
Has
get
he
that
fell
from
in love
Botman.
with the club type of thing? Is there any connection with the club?
I don't think you're ever going to see that from him. I just don't think he's that type of player or that type of personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a shame if he does go, because regardless of what you're saying, I think at his best, I think he's right up there. And I know injuries, maybe if this is a serious injury, it's like, okay, again, that now kind of cements the fact that he has got a fitness issue. with all these injuries. So, and like you say, Borgie, we've got a plan for the future, for the worst case scenario. But, when he was playing at his best, he was a beast, wasn't he? He was brilliant. And the ideal thing for me is that he gets over this back issue and comes back into the side and stays in the side from that point onwards. I know he had some iffy games. I get that, a few weeks ago, but I'd like to see him back in the side with a long run in the team and get his rhythm back, and then he can be the future. And if he shows his fitness, to us, that's the ideal scenario for me.
Another piece of news. This has come from Ekrem Kanar, or Kanu, if you like. AS Monaco. Newcastle are targeting Monaco's Senegalese midfielder Lamine Camara for January. He's also been monitored by another number of clubs in the Premier League and some League 1 teams. Monaco, with his contract running until 29, are reluctant to sell in the winter. But obviously we'll listen. Again, players being there's 4-2 now, Villa. We're looking at a situation now where lots of news coming towards Newcastle. This is all the same, though, isn't it? Every window, Newcastle seem to be involved or linked with 50 players. So I don't really take a lot of this to heart, if I'm honest with you.
I mean, what about Semenyo? It's the obvious one, isn't it, with the release clause? But and I think he's probably going to hold tight to see what offers are out there for him. But he'd be the one I'd be looking at, no doubt. If for a fact that he's available for 65 million. Personally, I'd be touting Gordon around to get as much as I can for him, and use that money to get Semenyo.
Yeah, I mean, we all said it. 65 million release clause. He's got to be there or thereabouts, hasn't he? And you're right. You are at that point now where you want to start getting something at your wingers, because to me, the value that we've paid for 2 players coming in the summer, that we've not really seen the fruits of the trees yet. £100 million ain't something to snip at, mate. And like I say, I think that money could have gone to better use elsewhere. And even now, we're still looking at midfielders. There's another one that Alex Toth has also been touted. You know what I'm like with pronunciations. Ferenc Varius is the team that he plays for. Liverpool and Brighton are amongst the clubs interested with this young man. Apparently similar to Zobislai. Now, we were linked with Zobislai before he moved to Liverpool. But he's a young lad, this Alex Toth. Again, you can't really compare leagues. They are second in their league. And again, this has come from Team Talk. And apparently there's a potential PIF January bid. And obviously there's Liverpool interest that we've got to also oversee. Another midfielder, like I said, it sounds to me with all of these players, and it seems to be the midfield that seems to be heavily broadcast regarding players coming in. And we've heard of a number of players now being linked from midfield. The other one was Keith Smith, wasn't it? Keith Smith, I should say. He's now obviously more likely to stay at his club in AZ for the rest of the season before a move is made in January. And I think with that, again, there was some talk about him wanting guaranteed minutes. Now, again, I don't know how you can do that in the Premier League under our current situation. Nobody's guaranteed minutes unless you become a favourite of Eddie Howe, and it seems as though that leadership group is hard to get into these days.
Well, Gary,
go on, mate.
Sorry, I haven't seen these players play. Right, I might have off chance watching a game, but they don't come to mind. But are these midfielders the same type of midfielders? Does that indicate the type of midfielder we're going for, or have you not seen them play?
Well, again, you've got to start asking yourself. For me, when I see these names pop up, the first thing that I do, is same as everybody, is go to FOTMob, have a look at what metrics they're giving and everything else. But it's very difficult to get a comparison because even though they like say, they're similar players too, like I've just said, Zoboszlai. Well, we haven't seen him play in the Premier League, so how can you compare him to Zoboszlai? You know what I mean? Because the levels of football are massive from different league to league. So, like I said, from what I've seen, Keith Smith looks a good player. Again, but again, would he be the same player in the Premier League? I can't tell you. I can't give you an honest answer on that. They look promising from what I've seen, but I'm not sure though. Is that the reason why Eddie Howe goes for the tried and trusted Premier League proven? Because of that, the rationale I've just given you. Yeah, he plays good in his country of origin or wherever he's playing, but doesn't mean that he's going to play well in the Premier League. And like I say, we haven't really seen anything from these Premier proven players as of yet, have we?
Yeah,
I think Eddie likes to go for the first option. I think it would be for Eddie, a Premier League proven player that he would sign. I think then the next option for him is somebody who, as you say, has got the personality that he wants, but also can speak English. He seems to put a lot of emphasis on making sure the players that are coming in can speak English, or when they get in, that they're going to be able to learn it quite quick. So I think that's a little bit how he based his decision. I mean, the one outliner is obviously Bruno was a little bit, and Joe Linton was already here in Toon Army, but he does seem to put a little bit of emphasis, I say, firstly on Premier League players, but then on players who, as I say, have got that personality that he wants.
Yeah. But again, it was a good call. I think Tony put it in, wasn't it? Is that the problem? Are we going for more of the player suitability, as in personality? We've said how well Wissa seems to be behind the scenes with the lads. Voltemada seems to be the same way. Wissa, you name them, they're all there. They're all the lads. They're all arms around each other. It's more that team spirit rather than individual performance and ability that Eddie seems to look at. Is that the problem? Is that the fact that we're not going for skillful players to upset the balance? I look after myself type of player who's got the ability. I will play for your team, but don't coach that skill away from me.
I don't know if he would ever sign a player who is a bit of a maverick.
Yeah.
Bit of a maverick type player. It just doesn't. I mean, the one that was probably the big one we had, St. Maximin, he got rid of pretty sharpish.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to like that sort of. He wants team players that'll come into his system and play, but constantly play for the team. I could never see him playing a player and say, "Look, go out there and the rest of the team will get to play obviously the formation, stay, but you go out and have sort of a free role." He's just not that sort of manager, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's his style.
Aye, I mean, I think that overall, I think it's a plus that he gets a group of players together of that sort of mindset where they're all in it together and they're going to try and power on through tough times, etc. All in the trenches to fight for each other. I think I agree with that, but I think it's just a balance, isn't it? Maybe here and there you can have a bit of a spark here and there, but also as well, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other. Maybe you can find, more skillful players who also are bought into the team ethos. So I think it's about mixing it up and trying to find the right players for us that also fit into the team, but make that difference in the first 11 on the pitch. But one thing I would say as well is, speaking about Alanga and that right wing, you look at it now, and I think Kudus would have been the better option. So is Kudus, I don't know what you look at Spurs. Spurs haven't necessarily got a lot of players who I would say character-wise are great at the moment, even though they've got a point obviously against us. But I I don't know what Kouros is like. He doesn't look like overtly the type of kind of, fist pumping, let's do this type character. I don't know what he's like behind the scenes, but I think on the pitch, in terms of his skill, he would have slotted in, no problem at all, wouldn't he?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I agree, mate. I think that is the thing. We talk about players available. I've just been reading some information. Connor's just sent me. To be fair, he's saying that it's reported that Semenyo's family is at the Emirates Stadium tonight as guests. So bye. His release clause could be 20 million. I think he's only going to go to one place, mate, and that's the Emirates and Arsenal. How he's so boring, it's unbelievable, says Ronnie Omelette. He's like a geography teacher. It made me laugh the other day because somebody says he's like a PE teacher. And I thought, I couldn't have described him any better if I tried, because that's exactly who he reminds me of. I used to have a cracking teacher, Mr. Hawthorne, and he was very much, that Mr. not too high, not too low type of guy, always on that plateau, always trying to get the best out of your players. And when he picked a team, like I said, we were kids then, and we could all pick the 11 that was going to start at the school club because he had that type of personality. And yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Again, Connor, if you're listening, dude, I don't know where this has come from, but he's given me some key personnel points here. So I'm going to read these out for you. So key personnel. I don't know. Is this the new appointments at Newcastle, or are these the people that work? Oh, there must be the people that work behind the scenes. So Michael Emerson as the head of data and insights. He oversees the data team and previously held the position of first team performance analyst. Liam Murray holds the title of senior first team performance analyst. John Fitzpatrick works as the first team sports scientist, data analyst. Jordan Tribe is the first team coach analyst, roles and responsibilities. The performance analysis analyzes training and matches to provide feedback to players and coaches. He's obviously not doing a great job. Opponents and analysis, studying the strengths and weaknesses of opposing teams. Data and insight provides data-driven insights to support decision-making across the clubs. Player recruitment, analysis, potential signings, and providing data support with recruitment decisions. We have 4 analysts. Why can't they say what is going wrong? Listen, we all know that when you watch stats, it often doesn't give you the right information. And we've said that from day one. The true seeing of a game is watching it with your eyes and then reading the data that comes with that. I think if you take one side, and again, you've only got to look at the way us three as a panel, like I say, I listened to Chris, who was very mundane yesterday. He wasn't really upset about the draw, which was surprising. And when you look at it, when you've got an opinion, and we are driven by what we see, we very rarely look at the metrics to balance both up, and that's why I won't always go off on one directly after a match, because depending on your emotions, especially if you're a supporter of the club, it's very difficult. Now, I know there's some FA Cup games that are going to be happening over the next week or so. And it looks like my old club that I worked for, Walsall, are playing at the Heed, I think on Monday or Tuesday. And I think the FA Cup then is being announced directly after that. So, what the dream would be for me is for Newcastle to play Walsall at the Bescot Stadium. That would be an ideal situation for me. I'd have to go in win seat. I'd have to be like on the halfway line, if you like. But that would be one where I don't know who to support, if I'm honest with you. But I know there's only going to be one winner because Walsall are shy.
I'm not quite sure now, Gary, whether it's a good idea sitting in the middle of the park, because the game win seems to watch as different to everybody else.
Well, I was going to say maybe I'd wear wind glasses as well and get those rose tinted. Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. I mean, like I say, it is funny how we all get to different. Question from Tony again: does Howe overcomplicate things? It's football. Score more than them. That's the old Kevin Keegan philosophy, wasn't it? I don't mind conceding 3 as long as we score 4. And how many games did we watch? You know, where we were on the opposite side of those 4 threes. And sometimes it was heart wrenching, wasn't it? You know what I mean? It was like you've done so well to score 3 goals, and yet you've been so poor defensively. Mackems are still 0-0 at Anfield. At 53 minutes gone, so it's still 0-0.
Burnley have lost at home to Palace as well.
Yeah.
Wolves lost at home to Forest, and Arsenal beat Brentford.
Yeah, Leeds are still beating Chelsea though.
Yeah, 2-1 now,
isn't it? 2-1. Yeah, they've got to go back, haven't they?
4-3 in that Villa game with Brighton.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cracker, that one, by the looks of it.
And just Gary, just on the football being overcomplicated thing, I think that applies for everyone. You know, I think across the board, I go back to what I said before about Pep's influence. I think there is a lot of overthinking from coaches, managers, as to how to approach the game. And I mean, not all the time, obviously. You know, the details matter. I understand that, and it's. I'm not saying you go out and you just just forget about tactics and just go and play your stuff. Obviously, you've got to have your tactics in place. But one story, you're talking about Kevin Keegan as well, and like how a player goes out on the pitch and how they're motivated and stuff. And I don't know if you've seen, but Shea Given was on Nicky Butt's podcast with Paul Scholes, and Shea Given was talking about Kevin Keegan, and I think he was there just before Keegan left. But and Given said that Keegan was great, and he said there was one time when Given was sitting in the changing room. He had a jersey on, Newcastle jersey. He said it was like all multicolored, really, really kind of not a nice kit to look at. And Given was sitting there wearing like, oh, this looks terrible. And he said Keegan came in the dressing room, walked in, and he looked at Given, and said to him, "I'm not sure about that shirt, Shea." And Given was like, "Yeah, no, gaffer, like looks terrible." And Keegan's response was, he said to him, "But I am sure about the player that's wearing it," and then walked away. Do you know what I mean? It's like that confidence that he get in, and then Given all of a sudden was like 6 foot tall to go out and do stuff. You know, that's a good example.
Yeah, it's fabulous. I was going to ask you guys. I'll tell you the story that I love. Shea Given was talking about the other day was. It's got out of my blooming head now. Who's Chris's favourite player? What's his name? Solano. Apparently Solano, because he used to be a big trumpet player, didn't he, Solano? And apparently, if Newcastle were having a bad game or they'd lost, Solano, as the gaffer were giving him a rollicking, he'd sneak out, get to his car, pull out his trumpet, and he'd open a little window somewhere in the dressing rooms, and he'd start playing The Last Post or something with his trumpet as they were trying to do the team talk. It was a classic one. Finally, then, because like I say, I'm still waiting because Chris is running a little bit late. I can see the mighty win. He's in the background, so he's waiting to get going. Do you think that going into the Burnley game now, like I say, we can all say it should be 3 points. It's easy to sit here and say it openly that we should have 3 points. I think we have to do a little bit more of a deep dive now. Even though at home there should be no real. But I'm going to put myself open here. If he loses this game at home because of a poor tactical, naive decision with players, with tactics or anything else, I will be on the other side of the fence. He will be definitely out for me now. Because I think some of his, and I think it's panic more than anything else. I don't think it's, I don't think tactically there was a requirement to change, to go so defensively. What you actually lost bringing Miley off for sure was any midfielder, because J7 didn't offer you anything. We've already gone through his stats. I can hear you, mate. I can hear you too. Yeah, you're looking beautiful, by the way. I can see you there in your studio, and I can hear you if you were talking to Peter. Peter, can you hear me? Oh. I want to get into before we go the potential, if you like, Burnley game. That's if I can find it. Where have you gone? Well, I hope I saved it. Please say I saved it. And if I haven't, I'll do it tomorrow because I can't find it. What have I done with that? That is very poor of me. I will have a look while we're waiting and see if I can get it going. So,
like that one.
Do you understand what I'm saying now? For me, against Burnley, who were getting hammered from everybody, at home, away from home, bottom three, if he goes with his tried and trusted against these now, and it doesn't happen, and I mean even a draw, then I am going to seriously consider whether he's fit for the job.
I mean, and by the way, yeah, just in that comment, I think it's interesting. I would love to have seen Bruno and Dan Burn, the entertainers. I think they would have slotted right in. But
yeah.
Aye. But I think I'm reluctantly, already really at that point where I just think maybe things have went stale. And do you wait until things get toxic and then make a change, or do you look ahead and nip things in the bud? And it comes across as ruthless. And I understand, the club being patient, the club being supportive. I applaud that, really. But if I'm going to look at it from a point of view of, is what's going wrong? Can I predict the future? Can I look ahead? Can I see a manager that's learning? Can I see us developing? Are things still bubbling along nicely? When I look at those things, and we've got the Magnums coming up as well, and am I confident for that game? No, I'm not, and I should be more. I mean, they're doing brilliantly this season, so it's partly that as well. But I just wonder if it has went a bit stale in terms of Howe's outlook. And the players, they're playing form. It's not a case of, it's terrible and we're at a point where, like I've said before, with Souness and managers like that, where it's so obvious that we need a change. But you just nip things in the bud and kind of look at who else is out there. I know I've mentioned Riola. I know he's in a bad run with Bournemouth and stuff, but I just think maybe if you got someone in who was a smooth transition, where it's quite similar to Howe, but it tweaks here and there, where it is a different outlook on certain things, but not a 180 where it causes chaos. I just wonder about that.
Is that not what we were discussing earlier as well, though, that these players are all personality-wise much of a muchness, which is probably why there isn't that sort of... you can't really wind them up. They're all quite level-headed, as you say, they're a certain type of person. And sometimes you need
hit the post against Liverpool.
Sometimes you need a couple of players in your squad that you can wind up and that get wound up, and do something special. And we haven't really got one of those. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I have found it. I had saved it. Now you talk about the issues with Newcastle facing a low block away from home. Burnley usually set up with a 4-5-1 system, and they have the he's got a really big head on there because I hadn't got a picture of him, so I've had to find one. This Florentino and Cullen that sit in the six just behind, with I think it's Chunia and Medjbury and Foster. I'm glad that Wynn's going to be doing the commentary on this one because, again, I can't get my tongue around half these. I'm only joking because he's going to be at the game. And they play with a lone striker away from home with Fleming up top. So this five in midfield, like I say, they try and attack down both wings, but they become quite narrow. Now, obviously, they've got Kyle Walker, right back. I can see Gordon having to start, if I'm honest with you, with Kyle Walker being there. What's he say? It's a bit harsh that yesterday is the tipping point, Gary. I don't think there's too much to complain about Howe's performance yesterday, apart from keeping J7 on. Game was more on the players, in my opinion. Well, the players didn't change the tactics, Cuffy. And like I say, for me, it was more the fact that we went from being in control of the game and being completely, run of the mill, if you like, to being totally outclassed and to the point of confusion. That comes from the players, but it's from the management's decision. It's not from player decision. Individual issues with the Romero overhead kick, I agree with you. That should have been challenged. That isn't the management's decision. But as Boki said, and again, I have to agree with him, is there too many bodies on the field of play in a defensive formation where everybody just relies on somebody else to do the job that they've been tasked to do? So, the question is out there. At this present moment in time, Eddie Howe has lost 11 points. The players on the field of play, along with Eddie Howe, have lost 11 points from winning situation. As of yet, they're yet to gain a point from a losing situation. Something has to change. Good
evening, and if we draw against Burnley, we'll be in the exact same situation we were in last season at this stage, 5-5-5.
Yeah, exactly. And we spent a lot more money than we did last season.
And this season we've got more games to juggle.
And this season we're in Europe, which we weren't last season.
£260 million spent, and we ended up exactly the same position. Well done, Eddie.
Well, let's get another cup this season and get back in the Champions League.
Exactly. Let's do something. There you go. We've got pizza and we've got Win on board. We're just waiting for Chris to come on, and then they'll get into the late evening. Did you enjoy your evening, Sir Win?
It was pretty much the same as the last one. A lot of talk and promises from the club of what was to come, but no firm. The only thing we have got from it is they have actually formulated a priority system of sorts for who will, if they decide to have an official season ticket waiting list, which by all accounts they are going to do, then they have formulated a plan for allocation of places, ranks, priorities within that system, which the proposed system, which was part of the reason for the consultation today, was how should those priorities be arranged. The club's current proposal is that MAG's members of 2 years plus standing who have applied for more than 50% of the ballot tickets should get priority. They'll be priority 1, as they designated it. MAG's members of a year's standing who 2 years and applied for 50% of ballot is level 1. 2 years without applying for necessarily 50% of ballot tickets is tier 2. 1 year who have applied for more than 50% is level 3. 1 year, at least 1 year membership who haven't applied. 1-0 Sunderland.
Right. I've just hit the post, so I've now gone on to school.
1 year who haven't applied for 50 level 4, and then any other MAG member. So you are going to have to be a member to be on any new waiting list.
Okie dokie.
That's the club's proposal, which was
so
up for.
I'm in tier 1 then.
Up for debate.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look at the way. It was a good strike from outside the box. Oh dear, beat Allison from 25 yards there. Crazy. Well, there you go.
Hello, lads.
And here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, also known as the American Chris.
I had to pick up the kids, man.
Hey, these pesky kids. It's all their fault, mate.
I know, man. I know.
Anyway.
But anyways, late night show. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it very much for coming on. Book is
standing in for you. Roy. Yeah, standing in for you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. I appreciate it very much indeed, man.
Listen, guys, thank you ever so much for your support out there as well for the couple of hours that I've been with me. I'm sorry if I've bored the life out of you, because I know I do. And like I say, thanks for giving you some feedback. It's been lovely to be here.
Lovely. The late night show starts now, ladies and gents. It's NUFC Talk.
You are listening to NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army. Live daily on the website, on YouTube, and on every online radio directory. NUFC Talk, the voice of the Toon Army. Set up for maximum confrontation and super opinionated debates. The NUFC Late Night Show with Chris the American Man, Derek the Mighty Wind, Rory Caviani, and the rest of the panel, Monday through Thursday from 9:30 p.m. UK. NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
Hey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Late Night Show. It's me, Win, Peter, and Boki. Roy should be joining. I don't know otherwise, but he should be joining. How's it going, lads? All good?
Yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad. Mute yourself, man. Okay, hell, man. I swear, tell them every time. Mute yourself, man. Anyways,
I couldn't get the button for Coven.
Okay, hell, man. Smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Become a member if you can. And yeah, have your say. What can we say about yesterday? I mean, let me get to Peter, because he's the one, he missed it. We didn't get his reaction really, unless you've already talked about it. I don't know. In this last 10 minutes that you've been on, but what did you make of the game, mate? It is a frustrating one, wasn't it?
Aye, gutting, as Brent once said. But it was really gutting at the end, and I missed that goal because I just basically couldn't watch the game. There was a moment when we lost the ball in the middle. I think it might have been J7, and when it was 2-1, we got the goal back, and I just had the feeling when you score a goal, you go ahead, you don't want to give the team a way back in, that little bit of hope. You want to extinguish that and just keep the ball for the next. When you restart, you want to have possession for 5-10 minutes, however long as you can. But I think we kind of gave it away a bit cheaply, and it gave them the impetus. And as soon as I seen that, I was like, I had this sinking feeling. So I just had to look away. It was kind of just too much. It was too nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But then obviously I watched the last few minutes. I watched it back, and really disappointing end to the game. But I don't think it was a disastrous performance or anything like that. But
no, I don't. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, Chow. I would say, I don't know if anyone's mentioned this, but could Chow not have gotten the last goal?
Of course he could have. Of course he could have. And look, he's the greatest center back we've seen in the last century, but that doesn't make him infallible from making mistakes, and that's fine. I couldn't believe my ears earlier on when Gary was calling out Tonali. I couldn't believe it. Literally, I wanted to hide under a rock. I couldn't believe it. Praising Bruno should be praised for yesterday's performance. but he's inconsistent, man. He misses a game. He did great against Man City, and then he missed the next one. He wasn't there. He didn't play good. So he's so inconsistent. And I will agree that Tonali didn't have the best game of his life. Of course he didn't. But he said he's not a leader. I couldn't understand it. Because if you're saying he doesn't trust Miley or doesn't trust Joe Linton, maybe he doesn't trust Miley because he's young, and am I going to put him in a position to make a decision? Maybe he needs to do that, but maybe he's doubting it. Maybe so. But Joe Linton, who's doubt? It doesn't take much to just say, man, I can't give the ball to Joe Linton. What's he going to do with it? He's not going to do anything. He was by himself in the midfield. So, but to say he's not a leader, man, that was a gut-wrenching statement that wasn't challenged by neither Boki or Tim. But, and of course, he would have been happy clapping anyway.
Because he was commentating on yesterday's match.
Yeah. No, he said he's not a leader. And, more or less, he's all hype. No. Don't put words in his mouth. He said he's not a leader. And not putting words in his mouth. Basically, he's overhyped.
Did Gary say he's overhyped?
He said
more or less.
No, midfield.
He said he's not a leader.
That Bruno can.
And so if people say Tonali is the best midfielder in our club, and he says he can't lead the midfield, what is that saying?
He said he's not a leader. It's completely.
So it's
different.
No. So he can't lead the midfield. Means that he's not what people make him out to be. Is that right?
It doesn't mean he's overhyped at all. It just means he isn't a leader. He couldn't rally the troops. For example, the way Dan Burn can rally the troops, the way Bruno can rally the troops.
Man,
he might be a better player.
Get your head a shake, man. How way, man.
When did Bruno or Dan Burn rally the troops win?
When do they do that? Exactly. When do they do that?
What I will say, right, is I think Bruno has, through his drive in certain games, not enough. Not enough this season, but I think he has kind of led the team, and he showed that leadership through how he conducts, how he pulls the strings in the midfield when he's at his best, which needs.
How's that working for Newcastle?
Well, it worked brilliantly against Man City, and it works, great against Everton
again.
But
again, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So To be honest, yesterday's performance, I don't think it's not right, in my opinion, to point out fingers at any particular player. I think overall, we play with many formations, many players in and out, and it doesn't seem like we can hold on to a lead. So it's everybody's problem at this point. So it's not about one guy, because that's all we do really. Is say this guy should be out, that guy should be in. Nothing changes, man. Nothing changes. We were crying. Wynn was crying about Livramento and Hull. They did great against Man City. What did they do yesterday? Nothing.
Well, Hull was arguably man of the match, even though he got skinned a couple
you keep
of times.
You keep on going to man of the match. I mean, let's see who's voting for this man of the match. We don't know. It's you and I don't know who. So he had a great. Again, I don't think it's about pointing fingers in yesterday's performance, but so. It's a collective thing. We crumble when we score. We crumble when we're winning. And it has to be a bigger answer. I don't know what it is. But now it's Tonali's not a leader. It makes no sense to me, man. We go at the best players we got. And I would defend Bruno if it was getting called out in that particular moment. But Bruno is clearly one of the most defended players by all fans, simply because he riles up, he throws his arms up and yells, and he's passionate, and I appreciate that. In yesterday's statements after the game, very passionate about it, very frustrated of how because he doesn't even know. More or less, he ain't got a clue. He's lost.
If anybody knew what the problem was, it would be fixed.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, right? I'll say about Bruno.
But it's collective.
I mean, we've gave Bruno pelters, rightly so, for a lot of games this season. and I've been one to say that, you know, in games recently gone by, sort of the last week's couple of months, he could be one that needs to be left out and you know, sit out for a game or two. But I have to give him credit when he does turn it around and kind of gets back on form. And I do think like he was exceptional against Everton. And when he came on last night, I just thought he looked head and shoulders above most players. So,
of course,
yeah,
of course,
so yeah. It's not just the, you know, the sort of gesturing to the crowd, because I'm not too keen on that now. I think he needs to kind of stop with that.
No doubt, exactly.
Yeah, but he let his performance do the talking, which is what I like. But yeah, you're right. He needs to be more consistent, and yeah, we'll see how that pans out going forwards.
You think about put yourself into Tonali's shoes as well, you know, because he is, for some reason, maybe because he doesn't do the antics. He's not you know, he's praised, but you know, it's always about, he always looked at like Barnes, you know, always looked at sideways by some fans with agendas. Walter might have the same thing, you know, it's just the same thing. They'll be the hero one day, and then all of a sudden the team doesn't perform, and all of a sudden they're the problem. But you got Joe Linton on one side, and Miley, who is a young lad that's coming up. We don't know, he's a good talent, but you know, you gotta put yourself in that position, you know. If that's the problem, you need to put more quality around. We know that Tonali needs to play with Bruno. We know who the liability is really in that midfield, and that's Joe Linton, because he doesn't do anything for Newcastle United other than
he for an hour he was arguably man of the match as well.
Well, the man of the match. When you have violated man of the match.
What I'm saying is Joe Linton didn't put a foot wrong for an hour. Neither did Dan Burn, and then on the 60th minute, for some reason, they both started misplacing passes.
Me and Gary,
he was good for 20 minutes, man.
Sub of Joe Linton because he was playing so bad.
You and Gary, what, sorry?
Man.
After 20 minutes, we're saying sub Joe Linton because he was playing so poorly.
Well, I didn't see that at all.
Well, I mean, you're like
and
the
that's
only
not because
person.
I've got a J7. I've got a J7 agenda now, have I?
No, because you blindly. I don't think you're lying to people. I think you just ain't got a clue. So I think you're a good lad. You just ain't got a clue. So like for example, like when you were talking about Gordon running around, that was supposed to be great for the team. That wasn't. That doesn't work, man. That doesn't. It's not. It doesn't. It's irrelevant. What matters is when Gordon comes on as a sub. Boom, running, crossing, Voltamata, Bruno, goal. That's what you need from Gordon. You need from Joe Linton to have some level of vision, man. Do something. You pick your poison. You're going to be a defender. You're going to be an attacker. Something. But whatever he's doing now is not working. And in the midfield, but that's not the only. Again, it's not about yesterday. You take Joe Linton out, I don't even know if that fixes anything. But if that's why I don't want to get into this. Tonali is the problem. Bruno is the problem, or whoever's not playing should be in, because that. It seems like that's the solution all the time. Whoever's not playing, you got to bring him on. Wissa, you hope that Wissa's the next Messiah. You know, I don't know, man. I don't know. But if you're gonna start finger pointing, you got finger point at the players that don't do anything for the team. And quite honestly, you got to point at Joe Linton, man. When you need quality. When you need to score a goal, when you need to push your team forward, is Joe Linton doing anything for you? I don't know.
No, not enough. Not enough. I mean, we've said, here's the thing, right? We've also said about Joe Linton for many weeks on this show, especially when we went through that bad spell against West Ham and you know, Brentford especially as well. Those two games, terrible. But so yeah, we've called for him to be dropped, and what I would say is, obviously, he started against Everton, and we won 4-1, and it was a convincing win. So when it came to the match last night, and I saw the lineup, well, I was thinking, you know, in an ideal world, you would have Ramsey in there instead of J7. But every time I've done that show with Timmy, it's always like on the back of a good result. We beat City, then we done the Tuesday show, and then after City we went and lost against Marseille, and we had Everton coming up after, and I was like, bloody hell! By the time I do the next show, the mood could be very different. But then we go and thrash Everton 4-1, and so when it came to last night, I'm more positive again. I'm thinking, come on, I want to be positive. With just, it's kind of up and down in it. So, but with the lineup, yeah, I thought, well, okay, he's kept J7 in, but he's also kept Miley in, so I was pleased with that. And I was thinking, ideally, you'd have Ramsey in there, maybe Ramsey, Tonali, and Miley as the three. But J7 again. I'm one of these fans who kind of we beat Everton 4-1, and it's like you want to kind of be positive and you want to think, well,
yeah, but what did he do? If you're going to argue that Joelinton needs to start because we beat Everton, then we have to point out what he did to benefit our win against Everton. You can't just say he's on there because, we won, but did we win because of him, or was he a participant in any of the plays where we scored, or that should be what we point out, because we beat Man City with Pope in, I believe. I think he was playing. So
it's just I know Eddie Howe is reluctant to make like kind of wholesale changes, and if you'd put Ramsey in, that would have been 2 changes out of the 3 centre mids, and I just knew he wasn't going to do that. So I just
that's fine.
Do you know what I mean? I just thought, okay, at least he's kept Miley in. That was my kind.
But then but so as long as you know what the problem is, that Eddie Howe can't make a decision like that, and then we have that problem to worry about. So it's a constant babying around either managers and players. I mean, if you were to pick the best midfield for Newcastle United, the best quality midfield, what would it be? Right now, with the midfielders we got, the best midfield as far as quality is concerned.
For me, it would be Miley, Bate, Tonali, and Bruno.
Exactly, yeah, that would be mine as well.
Yeah, so you could maybe interchange Miley with Ramsey, but yeah.
So I think Miley's been playing fantastic the last 2 games,
and that's fine. But we know here, we can try to. There's this constant debate between Tonali and Bruno when there shouldn't be, because they both should be playing. So it's not a one or the other.
Yeah, but they can't both play 60-odd games a season.
But they're going to have to. They're going to have to.
Like at some point, it's he has to have a rest, surely.
So then, when one of them gets injured,
you're right.
Then
you gotta have to play then you have to play the second best. But here's the thing. And because you're starting getting now into the late stages in the Carabao Cup. What are we now? Semifinals? Oh, no, quarterfinals?
Quarterfinal.
Somewhere. Quarterfinal against Fulham. We should be winning, but we had trouble beating them at home anyway, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
We didn't have trouble beating them at all. We beat them 2-1, but we could have scored 7 that day.
All the couldas and shouldas, man. I don't know about all that. I want to remember that we barely beat them, and Jimenez
because that's all that you're interested in, the scoreline now.
Jimenez,
and then you turn around and say it shouldn't
Raul
just be the
Jimenez,
score that matters.
Raul Jimenez, because you're the only one that thinks that. Because Raul Jimenez could have knackered us 2 goals in, and he didn't. So it wasn't.
That would have been 7-3.
Mid-review. Okay, 7. God knows. I mean, let's look at the big chances and see if we even had 7.
Just look at the XG.
You're getting into the latest stages on every competition. Right now, every Premier League game matters. So you got to play your best team. Every Premier League match. Now you get into the Carabao Cup. You're going to have to play your best team, man, because if you get to semifinals, trying to get to a final and trying to get to another trophy, you can't really mess around with playing players that you don't know how they're going to perform. You're going to have to put the best team on the pitch. Same thing with the Champions League. If you're starting to get into knockout stages, you're going to have to play your best team. So this thing of rotating, we don't have the best players in the world to say, we got another starting 11 on the bench and they'll do all right. I don't think there's any team in the world that really can say that. So you're going to have to start choosing to put your best players and rotate when you need to in the less important games. Could be against Burnley, for example, right? Could be against Burnley that you should be rotating. But do we even trust the team enough to do that? That's the situation we put ourselves into already. Super chat there from Tony. Just don't have Ramsey in goal like I did before, or like you did earlier this morning. That's right. Now everybody confuses him, man. Don't worry about it. But so I mean, what do you? I don't know, man. But it's clear and evident that we can't just play Tonali once and then Bruno. You know it worked yesterday with Bruno, man. But let's not lie to each other and say that Bruno.
We dropped Tonali and we won 4-1. We dropped Bruno and we drew 2-2.
Okay, now.
Just saying.
But when that's a ridiculous point to make. The way the team played in both games was.
That's with J7 in both games.
So.
So what are you trying? So what are you trying to say, man? So what are you trying to say? Have the balls and say it straight. What are you trying to say with that stat?
I said it when I put the stats up.
No. So what are you trying to say? Say it.
Tonali looks like a fantastic player, but out of all of our so-called elite players, he has the worst stats in terms of what the effect his presence in the
he should be on the bench. So he should be on the bench. Is that what you're saying?
That's not what
Does he need to be on the bench? So what are you saying then? It makes no sense what you're saying. What are you saying? I don't like this. I don't like this beating around the bush nonsense, man. Say what you need to say. If you're gonna bring up a stat like that, then actually say what you want to say, and don't beat around it so you can just be in the middle in gray areas. Say what you're trying to say.
Hang on. What's wrong with being in the middle in a grey area? Why does it have to be?
Because you're not saying. Because you're not saying anything. Because you're not saying anything.
Well,
you're implying that Tonali needs to be up.
Not say anything than say something that's wrong.
So when do we just go off stats now? Is that what we're going to start doing? Because I can throw the other one at you. 100% win rate without Dan Burn in the team.
Absolutely. But look at his record overall.
So do we take Dan Burn out of the team and win?
Look at his record overall.
No, but do we
what record, man?
The second best to Trippier.
But you throw
since they joined the club.
No sense, man.
Games started and games not started.
When you watch games with these, not with stats.
So do I watch with them as well.
So are you saying Tonali's not a good midfielder?
I'm sick of saying Tonali's he looks like one of the best midfielders in the world, but he doesn't get the goals he should.
Why you throw numpty stats?
Says who?
Why you put the player down?
It says who? Says me.
Well, the Yams. He's.
Yeah, I know he's throwing their stats. You know, I don't that stuff takes me back to college, man. I can't. You know, it freaks me out. I can't look at stuff like that, man. It freaks me out. I get an aneurysm and looking at numbers like that, x plus b, a exponent and radius and all that stuff, man. It knackers me. So you know what I see on the pitch. The thing is though that again, you're trying to argue that Joe Linton was on the pitch. So
you not have a word said against certain players.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's not the case. But you're saying that Joe Linton, we won against Everton because Joe Linton was on the pitch. So tell me what Joe Linton did to help us win that game.
Well, the fact that he didn't score or didn't assist or whatever is irrelevant.
No, but what did he do? I'm asking you what he did.
Well, he obviously did his job in midfield to ensure that we retained the ball, that we got the passes right, etc., etc.
He was better against Everton.
That's a vague answer. That's a vague answer, man.
He played great against Everton.
Yeah.
Look, I still think that starting lineup. I mean, I said beforehand, the one major change I would have made to that would have been Elanga. I would have kept Elanga in because
I would have as well.
Yeah, he wasn't outstanding against Everton, but like I said on the show last night, he'll be probably the most confident after that win than he ever has been since he joined the club. So I think he could have got into his stride last night, show what you've got in front of the home fans this time with, like I say, an assist under his belt the previous match. Apart from that, I mean, I still think the lineup, it was good enough to have beaten Tottenham. And, you know, if Joe Linton is looking like, you know, a weak link, then you bring him off and you put on Ramsey or even Willock. But so I would say maybe if you're going to kind of like, you know, contend the decision, maybe that's more of a pointer to look at. Is you can kind of understand, okay, he's starting him off the back of a really good win. Maybe he should have came off quicker. Maybe that's more of the issue.
But, you know, for example, Bruno and Tonali, since Tonali is the one being accused of being a rubbish player on this show. So Tonali started with Marseille.
There's nobody saying he's a rubbish player, man. That's what I'm saying. It's not all black and white.
No, but you are, though, because you're bringing up a stat saying that he's rubbish. So therefore, we lose with him on the pitch. That means he's rubbish. Plain and simple, man. Don't listen. I'm straightforward. I'm straight to it, man. I don't mess around the bush. You know, that's what you're saying. You brought up a stat. You said that Tonali, when he's on the pitch, we lose. He was on the pitch against Marseille. What did he do wrong for us to lose against Marseille? No. So okay, so he was against Marseille in the midfield for Newcastle United. What did he do wrong for us to lose that game?
Well, he did the same as the rest of the players on the pitch. It's a team game, man.
Oh, there you go. Bravo. It's a team game. So why can't that be the reason? A team game, the excuse of team game. Why can that not be used yesterday's performance? Why can that not be used in that performance? That is a team effort. That's why we gave up 2 leads twice. Why isn't that the case? Because we gave up a lead, by the way. Let me tell you. We gave up a lead twice yesterday in the second half where Tonali didn't play. And Bruno was there. And I'm not saying Bruno's at fault, but you're using those black and white stats to argue that against Tonali.
We took the lead twice.
Yeah, because of him. Yeah, because but we also gave up the lead twice because he was there. You see how nonsensical that sounds? To blame somebody like Bruno.
Who's blaming anybody? There's nobody blaming anybody.
But that is a blame. That is a clear blame. If you are saying that when Tonali's on the pitch we lose, then you are blaming him for it.
Well, I'm not. There you go. Simple as. I'm not. I'm simply pointing out the fact.
You are. You just don't. You ain't got the balls to say it. But you are. Go on.
Why did you point out that fact, Win?
Exactly. What's the point of it?
Because I was actually looking up Gordon's stats at the time because of the criticism he was getting, and so I thought, well, if I'm doing this, I did the full deep dive and I got the old spreadsheet out and did it and I thought I'll do it. I didn't have time to do it for the whole squad, but I thought I'll go through the first team, and I did all the first team, and the only player out of the whole what we would call our first choice players with negative figures extrapolated is Tonali. Everybody else is positive. We're better. We'll get more points per season and a bigger goal difference per season. Everybody, including Botman, by the way.
So you're saying Tonali's a problem for her?
I'm not saying he's a problem, no.
But you just have. You've just said he's got the worst stats. So he's a problem. In which case,
I still listen. Seriously, man, you would lose a debate anywhere. You're trying to bring up a proof of why a player when he plays we lose, and you're saying that you don't say that.
I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm saying historically that is what has happened.
So I guess we're just gonna ignore what you said then about the stat. So anyway, we're just gonna have to ignore it because he's not saying anything really. So I guess he still wants Tonali to be in. I'm assuming. So therefore, I guess that's what he's saying. So the stat means absolutely nothing. Just like your long step stats over Tonali and all of that nonsense.
Exactly, so they're the same stats.
So yeah, well there you go. Exactly. So they're irrelevant.
Would I have Tonali in front of Longstaff? Not a chance. Would I have Longstaff in front of Tonali? Sorry. Not a chance.
Clip that, Chris.
Yeah, I know, man. Listen, because he might actually mean that. So again, we wasted time for no reason here arguing over that numpty stat. But we all know
what I'm arguing with is you wanting to make everything black and white and point the finger of blame and da-dee-da-dee-da.
Man, I listen, if I was to say here, that there's a stat that we lose every game with Tonali on the pitch, then I'm saying that he's at fault. So I actually call him out and say he needs to be on the bench, just like I did many times with Longstaff.
Well, they are the
Longstaff is no good.
They are the stats. So is that what you're saying?
No, because
I don't look at. So there you go. We agree.
So yeah, okay, yeah. Listen. I know you're trying to do this for the show. I understand that. So that's fine. No problem. But Tonali is the best midfielder we have, based on watching the game. Not using formulas and all that.
Well, hang on, and this is not me being 2020 hindsight. If you remember, a few weeks back when we did the stick or keep, and the final stick or keep for everybody that was asked was Bruno or Tonali. 90% said Tonali. I said Bruno.
Yeah, man, but you're not discovering America. Everybody who have a brain would say that, so you're not really saying much. We know that Tonali and Bruno should be playing on the pitch. Again, we're pointing fingers at either Tonali or Bruno.
What I'm saying is Bruno gives more for the team than Tonali does.
But this is what you do when you put players up against each other. It's ridiculous. You should just say they're both great players.
They both are great players.
And they should be started.
Yeah.
But except they can't both start 60-odd games a season.
Well,
it's not sustainable.
The important games they need to start. Yeah, the important games. So you need to identify the weak games.
No. This is the point, you see. Define important games.
Well, what do you mean? Against Burnley, against the weaker teams, those are not important.
But you just said Premier League's the most important.
Yeah, because of the situation that we put ourselves into. But it shouldn't be like that. There's a clear flow this season that you've been defending this season.
Which is the same position we put ourselves in last season.
Oh, my God, man.
And if we beat Burnley, we'll be 2 points better off than we were last season.
Get in there.
Man, we had a fantastic season last season. One of the
fantastic season, man. You're going in jail, man, because everybody's already in the chat asking for you to be in jail because you're saying numpty things. So how is that? What does that say for being for making progress? Because we're in the same position as you said. I think we're worse actually. We're much worse.
Well,
but
much better.
You think we're playing better this season than last season?
I think we're in a much better situation this season now, than we were last season.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
That means that the squad, the depth of squad that we've got now compared to what we had last season.
So we shouldn't be in this situation.
Is much better.
So we shouldn't be in this situation. Is that what you're saying?
We've been through these reasons ad infinitum. There's reasons this season why we haven't done well. We know that, and it all goes back to the rat in the transfer market and the time that took, and no strikers and no fullbacks. We know what all the reasons are. And right now,
Ashley, let me tell you something, Mike.
Right
Ashley,
now,
we have the biggest.
We are in a better. We could be better off points wise, and
Newcastle
we've
United
certainly got a better squad this season than we had last season.
Newcastle United fans have the biggest victim mentality in the history of civilization. Trust me. But we're going to continue to talk about Ashley. We're going to continue to talk about Isak the next 20 years, man. When they're not even relevant anymore. Not even relevant. The replacement for Walter Made, for Isak, is Walter Made. He's on the pitch. For the opportunities he's been provided, he's been killing it up front. Killing it. Right? And so that problem is solved. The team is bad. Scoring is not our problem. Don't you understand?
Scoring
is
our problem.
No, it isn't. We score every game. Every game we score. but we also let other teams score against us every game almost. That's the problem. You remember, I was thinking of it this morning. So what's that got to do with Guatemala, letting people score all the time? It makes no sense. Remember, at the beginning of the season, our problem wasn't defending. Many people say we had the best defense in the league at the first probably 4 or 5 games. And then we switched that over. We let teams score all the time, every game. You cannot get points like that.
Hang on. The start of the season when we're getting all the clean sheets. Why were we getting the clean sheets? Because we weren't scoring. Because the whole team was defending. We were playing the 5-4-1 that everyone was complaining about.
Oh my God, man! Peter, say something, man, please, man, because I just can't, man. I seriously can't, dude.
I mean, well, in terms of the goals being conceded, we've said many times on this show that the way that we've played this season, if you kind of take those first few games out of the equation, where it was a bit more cagey, in general, we're very open. So that's just how we play, and you know, the midfield, we've got these 3 in midfield where neither sits. You know, they all kind of take turns to kind of go on the charge. So I think, like, if you're talking about, you know, why are we conceding goals, and that being the problem, and yeah, I think as a team this season we're just a bit too open, and I would say especially not recently with the Everton win, but before that, I think away from home, obviously the record was dreadful, and we were just not battening down the hatches. We weren't rolling the sleeves up and kind of like saying, okay, we're going to be tough to beat first and foremost. I think that's led to a lot of goals being conceded away from home, especially this season. So yeah, I mean, we ideally would have killed that game off last night. When you go 1-0 up, you need to get the second, and then obviously when we get 2-1, ideally you get another one just to have that buffer. And we've seen that quite a few times actually, like over I would say the last year or two, where we just don't control games enough in that position. When we go 1-0 up, we've got the advantage. We can control games really well at 0-0. And last night we played good stuff, but once we get that advantage, I think there's a nervousness that kicks in where they don't, barring Everton. Everton was the perfect away performance. But there's just maybe too many times where we get the lead and we give the team the initiative maybe a bit too much to find a way back in.
And I think that's the problem. Is to me, you know, we already know what Wynn's thing is with me. He wants to create arguments with me and fights with me all the time. Since I'm American, you know, people are going to go against me. But the problem is not even blaming players is irrelevant, because we have played every possible player we can other than Wissa. But Wissa's not going to change anything, man. He'll score his goals here and there, but you know he's not going to do anything. But so we play every possible player, mate, and it doesn't change. It's the same thing over and over. So
the problem we've got is as plain as the nose on your face. We can't finish what dinner. Simple as.
It's unbearable. It's unbearable, that, man. You've said that since we played Aston Villa, Leeds. You keep saying that now. I mean, it's so irrelevant.
We should have been. We could have, should have won. I don't care. We should have had 3 goals before half time yesterday.
Yeah, you keep on going. You want players. You want the team to score 100% of the chances.
That has never happened in football. Some of them.
That has never happened in football. That has never happened in football.
That is a trend where we do tend to miss. Since under his reign, I mean, as brilliant as it's been, I think that's something I've noticed where, you know, we just miss too many chances. And it sounds very basic thing to say, but yeah, we do create chances, and we've just got a habit of not being ruthless enough.
Exactly.
I do think that's a valid point.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, ruthless enough could be as well controlling the game, continue to attack smartly, not leaving yourself open. All of that. I agree with that. But the fact that Voltemata will score a goal out of 3 chances, and to say that's rubbish, and to actually say that, for example, that header that he went and got yesterday out of nowhere, that's a sitter that he missed. That's a clear agenda, man. That's a clear agenda. I mean, that's not a sitter.
You're talking to Walter Moore's number one fan, and you're saying I've got an agenda against him.
Well, you're number one fan? Oh man, you're gonna have to clarify that, man, because it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it at all, man. You got to look at yourself in the mirror for that one. So
I can look myself in the mirror, no problem.
So in how many games we played this season already? 14 matches in the Premier League. 14 matches in the Premier League. We have created. So these are the stats that make sense to look at. You know what I mean? Big chances per game created. We averaged 2.2 big chances created. 2.2 out of 14 games. You know, Burnley just creates 1.4, so we barely above them. You know, how is that enough chances to create for our attackers to score? You know, it's not enough. It's not enough.
Well, how does that compare with everybody else?
Well, I looked at Burnley, for example. Burnley is obviously a poor team, but say Man City. Let's see what Man City's up there. So we'll see what the difference is.
Let's see.
With them and us. So goals.
Big chances.
Big chances per game.
The same stat.
Big chances per game for Man City is 3.3, and for us 2.2. A big jump, basically, for them.
There's one per game. Man City are creating one more chance per game than we are, yet they've scored 32 goals and we've only scored 19.
That's
who end the day is that down to win?
It's down to it's down to the players taking the shots.
No, but who end of the day picks them players who are taking the shots?
Eddie Howe picks the players, but he hasn't got a finisher to pick because we haven't had Wissa since the start of the season.
What's Walter Moore?
Walter Moore for me is not an out and out striker and never will be.
So what
I don't look at Gary. I don't look at numpty stats. I look at big chances created, goals, assists, all of that stuff. And you're not gonna find me looking at. Let me see here. Let me look at a numpty one. Let's see. What? Let me. I'll look for one into like accurate long balls per game. I don't even know what that is. You don't
know what an accurate long ball is.
Yeah, well, that other stuff is irrelevant, so I'm not even bothered with that.
What
all
creates
of that,
goals?
I don't look at any of that crap. So, but that's me though. Of course I do. That's me, man. I do what I want to do. You do what you want to do. So there you go. And I think we win based on goals, assists, chances missed, chances created, and all of that. I think those are the most important ones. But maybe I'm just looking at football wrong. It's 2025 anyway, A lot of things in society are different now than it was 20 years ago. So maybe life is changing. But we got a super chat there from Tony. So you got it? There you go.
Sorry.
Let me see. What the heck is this? I go for a cuppa and wins in jail. Get him out now. And while you're at it, put Peter in for the experience. He'll love it. Oh, man. Peter didn't do nout, man. He ain't do nout, man. Oh, my God.
Bit harsh.
Yeah, but, that's crime. Hey, with that face in jail, man, you better be careful, man. You better be careful.
Don't drop the soup.
You better.
I'm safe.
Someone put a super chatter bailers out, please.
Yeah, come on, man. Take my man out, man. He don't deserve to be in there, man. Put that bald one down there, man. Unbelievable what he's been talking about. Joe Linton, man of the match yesterday.
I didn't say he was man of the match yesterday.
You said he was.
So what did you say then?
On the pitch.
I said for the first hour, man of the match was a toss up between him, Miley, and Dan Burn.
Win in all seriousness.
Dan Burn. You put Dan Burn in there.
Absolutely.
In all seriousness, do you think you honestly were at the match and thought Joe Linton had a good game?
Yes. For the first hour, and then he was rubbish. Should have been taken off.
So what's the score then? 5. He was 10 in the first half and 0 in the second half.
I looked at the clock. 62nd minute was the first time he gave the ball away.
But that was
and then he gave it away about 30 seconds later.
Well, I guess if you
had the ball,
and when he gave it away, the next touch Dan Burn got, he gave it away.
If you were only watching Joe Linton, that means you weren't watching the whole game. Trust me, he wasn't good at all compared to the rest. And again, we pick on.
I was watching GSM when he was on the ball.
My thing is the priorities, right? Because when I ask what's going on in this game, and somebody tells me Tonali's rubbish, what's going on here, man? What's going on?
Tonali was rubbish.
Yeah, but what about Joe Linton? He was triple rubbish, and so he's not pointed out, and that's my problem. The first answer for people is the agenda. Once again, Tonali, Barnes, Voltamara, all of them. Ramsdale now. Ramsdale is a fall for everything, for the crackheads in Lee's Park. All of a sudden, So again, the answer is always going to be the players that just come in or the great players that we got. Instead of bigging them up, we cover the other ones that shouldn't be covered, like Joe Linton, who again didn't play good yesterday. It has been inconsistent, and when you need quality, he doesn't give you it. So what's so hard about that? Where's the stats between Joe Linton and Tonali?
The thing is, right, like with Joe Linton, we've gave him pelters, Chris. Do you know what I mean? We have on this show, we've teared him down, and rightly so a lot of the time, because he has been poor, as Timmy would say. That's
That's
really poor. But
that's poor. So, that's really poor from him.
Exactly. So we've given it to him, but the thing is, Everton came around. I know you're going to say it's only Everton, but at the end of the day, right, he did play better. I'm not saying he played amazing. He didn't play world class, but he was I would say an important cog in that machine. He kept things ticking in the midfield, right? He did do okay. He done better. That's for sure. He done better than what he had been doing. So I'm not gonna slate him and then not kind of like just give him give him props for when he actually does play decent.
That's fine.
Do you know what I mean? So I think last night, what I will say as well is, I was speaking about Tottenham, right, in the build-up about them, about the characters in that Tottenham team, and they've got big problems at home, right, between the fans at the stadium. But I kind of wish, in a way, maybe we were playing away from home last night, because I think they rocked up at St James's, and to be fair to them, they played like they had a point to prove. I thought they defensively were better than what I was expecting, right? Because I think they weren't in front of their home fans. Like I say, there's a big issue there between Tottenham home stadium and that motley crew in the Tottenham squad. So, but to be fair to them, they kind of rolled the sleeves up. I still think Newcastle had the majority of the play. I still felt it was a matter of time before they broke through. We got the goal. So I didn't know what I kind of, after the game, I didn't know really what to say, to be honest, because I just thought, well, we've done enough. But I just think, we're talking now about selections and players and Tonali and Joe Linton. If Tonali, he wasn't like 100% maybe as effective as what we'd like him to be. Maybe I think
defensive, he was killing him.
Fair shout. Yeah, doesn't mean he's...
Yeah, but I thought his defensive work was brilliant, and again, defense doesn't really look. It doesn't look good. It doesn't. There's a reason why defenders don't really go for that much money. So it doesn't get taken in consideration much. But I thought he leveled the playing field for Newcastle in the midfield. And sometimes, man, the dude is human being, man. What is he going to do? Attack, assist, be on the attacking end, and also be on the defensive end. It's a lot to do when you got somebody like Joe Linton, who I still don't know what he's doing, and Miley, who's a young lad who's probably going to be free to go forward a lot. And again, to be fair, I was going to say this before I got. Again, we already know what Wynn tries to do with me. We know that. But the fact of the matter is that I don't even think we deserve to win, in my opinion. I think, we played good. I think we played good yesterday. Deserved to win. We had the chance, but we didn't win. So can I say we deserve to win? I don't know. But we were we play good. I thought I wasn't even going to be angry about a draw. A draw is a draw. I mean, when's the last time we actually drawn in the game? You think about it. It's always a lose game, lose, win, and either bedwetters, happy clappers. It's always about that. When's the last time we actually drawn a game? It'd be interesting to know. Maybe Leeds, did we draw?
No, well, here's the thing. The last three, we beat Man City, drew against Everton, beat Everton, drew against Spurs. So we got 7 points out of 9. If you'd looked at those 3 fixtures before we'd kicked off any of them, would you have taken 7 points out of 9? Absolutely, you would have done. Draw against Man City and beat Spurs and Everton. So we've done it the other way around.
So I wasn't. I'm not. Again, for the performance, I'm not even on the blaming.
It's another
players.
game we could have won, should have won, and we didn't because of individual defensive errors that cost us goals.
Yeah, but no. I see. I'm not going to buy that now because the whole season has been that. So if that's the case, then it's all about players. It's all about errors. Therefore, there's nobody else to blame, and we'll just ride with the win and see what happens. Nobody to blame. Nobody to take a charge. So again, let me just finish my point. I'll let you ask your question. Again, I didn't want to blame any players. I wasn't bothered really. I really wasn't. And then but we gave up lead twice. It's not the first time. It's not as easy as just saying it's a player mistakes, man. We'll get on and we'll see what happens. No, it's a pattern, and something is a team. We know Toon Army and Bruno need to play, and Joelinton, I guess he'll have to play because that's the truth. But listen, man, it's a team. We can't control games, and that's a team thing. That's a team thing. We have an issue with the team.
I agree.
In defending, not a particular player.
Yeah, like when Tottenham got back 1-1, and then we got that penalty 2-1. That was like gold dust. Like bloody hell, we've been given a gift there, right? So at that point, you really do. I mean, it was a kind of body blow to get back to 1-1. So you kind of should learn your lesson then, shouldn't you? So that's the disappointing thing about last night is that they couldn't batten down the hatches after going. Obviously, I say we'll
we take the lead.
Yeah.
So what's a good thing to do when we've got 4 minutes to go, 86 minutes, we've taken the lead. What do you do?
So,
go on, man.
That's fine.
Take a midfielder off and bring the attacker on. Bring a defender on.
But when can I pick you up on that? Fair enough. I didn't disagree with bringing Shaw on. I did disagree with the full team then being 22 yards from the goal, all 10 players.
Yeah, well, like I'm saying,
for the corner, why did we have 10 outfield players in the box defending the corner? You don't need that. You need to put a little bit of pressure.
Because we always do.
But why?
As does every team. I've been screaming for years to stick Elanga and Gordon on the halfway line when we're defending corners, or not necessarily them two, any two. Because if you put two defenders on, two of our attackers on the halfway line, they've got to bring at least 3 defenders out of our box to defend.
Who end of the day sets open both the way we went defensive and the corners? Who the end of the day is in charge of them setups? Eddie Howe.
Right.
So why is he doing it? Why isn't he learning that? We've conceded how many goals in the last few minutes of games because of the fact he goes so defensive?
I wouldn't mind it if it was like, Rafa style and it worked. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you took the beat and it's like, you ain't getting through us. You're not getting through the midfield, never mind defense. I wouldn't mind if you're scraping a win like that, but you're looking comfortable in terms of, they just can't get past. You've seen teams. I mean, I don't think that's, when I think about it, it's kind of going out of fashion now in how open all the teams are these days in Premier League. But like back in the day, you had like the likes of Makelele and Kante for Chelsea and these kinds of players. You know what I mean? Where it was like it was a to get past them to start with.
Yeah, but
not enough. But that's not.
But you got what's his name in Chelsea though? He's a defensive midfielder.
Caicedo.
Caicedo's a defensive midfielder, man. He ain't got a clue going forward, but he'll stop anything. And I still think that Tonali, again, just because I'm with you and Tim, by the way. Just because, everybody jumps up a bridge doesn't mean I have to. Football, you give me any 90s team, the 90s Newcastle United, right now, will beat any team. It doesn't mean that just you got to move. But that's what managers do now. And again, Eddie Howe is very much 4-3-3, and that's what he does. Direct, and that's what. So I think his biggest mistake was because you don't have time to train or go back. The problem was that he tried to go possession-based and then make us a defensive team. It kind of worked. And then now I guess we've been trying to be direct, So doing all of that, in my opinion, has knackered us because we ain't got the time to practice and go back and forth. So
just quickly, right, on that last goal Tottenham scored, I do also think when I watched it back, I was just baffled because I just thought, how do you explain that? The ball goes through how many players? Like how can you?
It goes past 3 players before it gets to Ramsdale.
Yeah. And they all literally just watch it and they left it. Purposely left it. Like, I don't know how you explain that. I don't know, what can Eddie Howe say about that? You see what I mean? On that particular moment I'm talking about.
Yeah. And the fact that, I think the fact that it was in such, effectually slow motion. It wasn't slow motion, but it happened so slowly and real. It wasn't like a bullet overhead kick that Ramsdale had time to watch that as well, and so he's seeing it, and he's it's not gonna get I'm gonna got through with a lot, and that put him in a difficult situation as well.
And I think that's exactly what happened. Not that Ramsdale, I don't think that Ramsdale said these twice will get it. I'm not bothered. I think they were just right in front of him, all of them really. 1, 2, 3, and even 4 with Lewis Hall should have done something to prevent that, and he just found himself with the ball there hopping around, and he tried to get to it, but he couldn't. Maybe he couldn't see the ball. We don't know, but it kind of looked like it could be an excuse. But again, yesterday blaming. We're never happy, man. We're never happy. We won at Ramsdale. All of a sudden, now Ramsdale's a problem.
I'm very happy.
No, well, with the fact that never mind. I'm saying. With the changes, Ramsdale was supposed to. Everybody wanted Ramsdale in, and all of a sudden, because they're saying he didn't punch the ball right. You also have to take into account that ball is going fast as heck with a bend on it. It's got a spin on it, and you got to connect, punch, and come on, man. So, and again, say that's a mistake. Something else happened after that to prevent that goal. That could have been prevented that goal, and nobody did anything for it. The Kaiser, the greatest center back I've seen in Newcastle United in this 21st century. Woodgate doesn't lace Chow's shoes, so he got nutmegged on that ball that was going minus 200 miles per hour. So he made a mistake. He also probably thought the guy in front of him was going to get it. Byrne thought the guy in front of him was going to get it, and therefore nobody got it. But it was a mistake. But you can look at it, Peter, and say, it's a mistake. What can Eddie Howe do? However, that's if you look at it in this particular game. But the whole season, we've been letting leads go up and down, down.
Yeah. It's an isolated incident where it was kind of like a freak moment. And I think you got to be asking questions for those players. Why the hell did you leave that ball? But yeah, I agree in terms of the general play when we do get ahead, 2-1 or 1-0, we do tend to be too open. And kind of have teams come onto us a bit too much. Apart from, like I said, the Everton game was the perfect away performance. But yeah, even at home, there's times at home, like last night, where we're not dominating the possession maybe enough when we get ahead. We do when it's 0-0 and we're trying to get the breakthrough, the first goal. But when we do get ahead, that's when they seem to get a little bit nervous, I think. But it was really good stuff a lot of the time going forwards. It's just a shame they couldn't hold on.
They couldn't get it done. 10:40 in the UK, folks.
You are listening to NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army. Live daily on the website, on YouTube, and on every online radio directory. NUFC Talk, the voice of the Toon Army.
All right. Latest Premier League results of today. In case you missed them, Brighton loses against Aston Villa 3-4 at the MX Stadium. Villa got four goals, man. They got 3 points away.
4-3.
Not good. Burnley 1-0 against. They lost 1-0 against Brighton. Crystal Palace away. So the Eagles beat Burnley 1-0. Can we match Crystal Palace and score once past Burnley? We shall see. I don't know. Don't look at me with dodgy eyes, because I divina at the moment, as the Twins would say. So Wolves losing against. Wolves is the worst team I read in Premier League history. In Premier League history, man. And by the way, we beat them 1-0 as well. We barely beat them with the twat that everybody wants out. That's not a proper striker. Remember when he came in, debut, boom, goal, and everybody was celebrating. Voltemara, everybody was doing this, and all of a sudden now he's rubbish. He's not a proper center forward. Remember that?
Who's saying he's rubbish? Not a proper center forward.
A lot of people that are bold and old. I don't know who, but a lot of people that are bold and old. But see if Boki found that funny. But the worst team statistically. There's some stats for Gary. Statistically, the worst team in the Premier League. I couldn't believe that. Wolves, unbelievable.
2 points after 14 games.
And Arsenal beat Brentford, beat the Bees. The Gunners
which moved us up a place.
It helped us because Brentford is obviously we're in the Brentford stages at the moment. Leeds beats Chelsea 3-1.
Proves that we're wangers.
I mean, unbelievable. Leeds United. That means that point away. That must have that means goal.
Makes it a good point.
That means goal, doesn't it? Doesn't it mean that exactly? Okay, now. Anyway, Liverpool though, I can't believe the Malcolms drew at the end, man. Okay, yeah. But who scored first? Liverpool or the Malcolms? The Malcolms scored first at Anfield. The Malcolms are not scared of anybody this season, man. The Black Cats.
They'll be scared of us and worry about that.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I hope so. But the Black Cats, will the cat eat the bird? I hope that. I hope the bird pokes their eyes out. But I don't know, man. I'm telling you guys.
The magpie will go and steal everything that's in the stadium of you.
And by the way, Liverpool only equalized because of an own goal by Mukiele. So, again, context. Context. First of all, Liverpool drawing with Sunderland at home is never a good point. But some would say, it's a good point away. For Sunderland, for example, a good point away. No, man. One of our guys scored an own goal. That's not a good. We should have won. Should have got 3 points. Context means everything, man. Put context into it. But thank goodness they drew. And, man, I can't believe it. Looking at them, they comment on here, too. They come in here and talk about mind the gap and all that nonsense, man. Not your mate, Terry. Terry, I think is his name, right? Terry?
Yeah.
Not him. No, he seems to have grown up in Newcastle, probably grandparents with Sunderland fans or something, because he talks proper.
He's a diehard
fan. But man, oh man, my oh my, we are 3 games away, ladies and gentlemen. We got Burnley, the mighty, powerful, unbeatable, unchallengeable Burnley with Kyle Walker on the side. One of the greatest fullbacks England's ever had. Not that anymore though. But and then we got Chelsea away. Chelsea, that's gonna be knackering me. But we beat Man City though, but that's at home. So somebody said that we haven't played anybody away from any big team, any top 6 team away yet. Is that true? I haven't played anybody. We play Arsenal. We play Arsenal at home.
Villa are third. We've played them.
Well, yeah, Villa, but you know what I'm saying, though. Yeah.
Palace, we haven't played away, and the Mackhams we haven't played away yet. We had top 6 in it.
I think they mean the traditional.
Arsenal, City, Villa, Chelsea.
I'm talking about the teams competing for the title, which is Chelsea, Arsenal. I don't think Chelsea will get it, but you get the point. Chelsea, Man City and Arsenal. Well, Liverpool away haven't either. So it's going to be a tough one, man. I'm telling you, man. And by the way, I complain about that.
I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. We beat Burnley on Saturday. Liverpool have got to go to Leeds, which is the original intercity derby before it became Man U. It was Leeds-Liverpool was the big rivalry back in the early 70s. And it's the Red Rose v the White Rose. It's everything there. And Leeds will be on a proper high after beating Chelsea. So Liverpool in the form they're in, they'll not be relishing going to Elland Road, I know. And if Liverpool don't win and we do win, we'll go above Liverpool.
Not if they draw.
If they draw, they go to 22. We'll be on 22 and we've got a better goal difference.
All right.
I'm telling you, man. By the way, I raised this point out because I don't usually do conspiracy theories. I think they're just a cop out for people to say they suck or they're good. But like these, I don't know, the fans at home and the atmosphere wasn't great, so therefore we lost the game or we gave up the lead. To me, that's a cop out, man. Players are just playing bad.
I was disappointed with the atmosphere yesterday. I've got to be honest.
But you can have the discussion as far as atmosphere, and because we are known for that, so therefore you have that conversation. But to say that we give up leads because of that makes no sense, man. But that's just one conspiracy.
No, we gave up the lead because of defensive errors.
There are many conspiracy theories in football.
Were you happy when you left the ground last night? Did you think, that wasn't too bad a result?
Well, of course I wasn't happy, no.
So
why would I be happy when we're chucked 2 points away?
Well, Pocone, you were played brilliant. All the players played fantastic. Apart from Toon Army, who was useless.
No, that's not what
I said. In Voltemara.
I said we played brilliant for the first hour. Especially the first half. We were all over Spurs first half. They never looked like scoring, and we could have had 2 or 3, as I say.
Yeah.
Came out the second half. Bruno came on, started waving his magic wand, and we got the goal. And then we went to sleep. Big Dan should have kicked his head off, and he didn't.
Now my biggest nemesis on the chat is Christina, while Warren is probably taking a nap. So but I will agree with her saying that we did play well. I think we played decent. We played well. I'm not bothered about it. Again, I wasn't bothered about the results. It's just how we did it.
The thing, right? We've teared down the team, and rightly so, because we've been terrible in certain games this season. But to be fair, last night I was happy with the application of the players. I thought it was good.
Me too.
They were at it. So that was, we have to kind of balance it out. I mean, it was, like I said, devastating that we didn't get the win because the manner of the goal we conceded, it felt like a defeat. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to balance things out here. And I mean, Bruno again is someone we've criticised this season, and he's back to his best now. That's a good thing. It's you know what I mean. Look, he really was looking like a shadow of himself in a lot of games this season. It looks like he's back on form now. So do you know what I mean? It's not all doom and gloom from last night. There's positives to take from it, but the manner in which we.
And by the way,
was really
I don't think it's the case. But just to appease some folks, what if Tonali is having a bit of a downer? Does that mean you sack your best midfielder in the team? Followed by the second best midfielder in the team, which is Bruno. When he had bad games and bad performances, if it's indeed the truth what you're saying, I would still leave the jury out for Bruno because he had a great game. Man City, Marseille, he was non-existent. And then Everton had a great game, and yesterday came in and said, so, listen, I won't disagree with you just for the sake of argument, but nobody called Bruno to be out of the team. But why is the agenda against Tonali? You know what I mean?
What's the agenda against Tonali?
Did I mention your name, man? Did I mention your name, or was I talking to Peter?
Well, which agenda are you on about? That's what I'm asking you, which agenda against Tonali?
But I'm talking, be respectful, I'm talking to Peter. So, he's on the bottom bunk. It's me and my cellmate right here, Peter.
I mean, to be fair, I think Tim did say last night before the match he would have rested Bruno. And there's been games like after, actually, I mean, I said after the, what was it? Before we played City, who did we lose off before that match? I think it was...
Brentford, wasn't it?
I think it was Brentford. And so, I said after that, I said, let's drop Bruno. I said we need to draw a line in the sand and kind of not look at the name of the player, because we were stuck in a rut where everyone was playing terrible and we needed to draw a line. So I think, there's been calls for Bruno as well.
And you did say the same thing about Toon Army, to be fair. You said, but you are consistent. Other people that are not in this conversation, because it's me and you right now, so don't listen to people trying to talk through the toilets, how the other cellmates are trying to talk through the toilets and trying to throw little papers, fish little papers with little, don't worry about them. Other people are not consistent. They only blame certain players. Tonali, Walter Mata, now Ramsdale, Barnes. Remember Barnes? He was the scapegoat. He played one bad game. Other people. No, I'm just saying. Peter, I'm going to have I keep hearing stuff, man. But so Barnes, remember Barnes? He didn't score one game. All of a sudden, he needed to be benched. Meanwhile, Gordon needed to play all the time because he was running around like a pterodactyl, and that was supposed to be good for some reason. Remember that? There's the inconsistency, man. The inconsistency from some fans, so-called fans out there. I mean, you agree with that? You agree with that, right?
It was really harsh to criticize Ramsdale for that. I mean, I read that before I even went and saw the goal back, because I didn't see that goal at the time. So I started reading the odd comment about Ramsdale. I thought, oh, bloody hell, is he cocked up here? And then I watched the goal and I thought, okay, it wasn't the best punch in the world, but come on, like what happened afterwards is why we conceded that goal, not Ramsdale.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a lot of things that happen in that particular case, and but again, I'm not. I don't know, man. I'm lost, Peter. I'm lost. I'm telling you, man. I'm only speaking to Peter, by the way. I'm the only person I talk to. Boki, if you're listening, man, they gotta put you in jail, man. Unfortunately, but you're with somebody else. I hate the fact that you're with somebody else, man, at the moment. Because imagine listening to that 24/7. But
one thing I would say, Chris, is somebody keeps calling out players all the time. So they called out Chow at the start of the season, said he wasn't good enough.
Oh yeah, because
they called out.
We gave up leads because when Chow came on.
Yeah, Maley they called out because Maley hadn't developed enough and wasn't good enough. It's now going on to Tonali's not good enough.
Who said Tonali's not good enough? Who said Maley's not good enough? Who said Chow's not good enough?
Which FA Cup winning club? So 5 of those answers are impossible. Where would you like to start?
We'll start with good old QPR.
Let's be honest, it's one person that's not in prison, and it's not me. So it's you. You call out players.
Yeah,
I don't call out players at all.
You do all the time, but only a few players, by the way. Not everybody. Only a few players. But I wanted to mention this, by the way, because again, it came up in the conversation because we haven't played anybody away yet, any like contenders. And I think I raised that point with Peter and Tim, or I think Peter, and about how the league, I think they do this on purpose. I don't have anything to prove it, but again, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I think this is a conspiracy theory that because they don't bother with Newcastle, so we always play away at the end of the season against those contenders in their home turf with their fans when you actually need points, when you know how many points you need, what you need to win the league or to qualify, etc. We always away. It always feels that way. It always is like that, in my opinion. We always play them at home early in the season where really things don't matter. I mean, right now every point matters for us because we cooked it up. But at the end of the day, we're always away later in the season. And that's something, even now trying to qualify for Europe, that's going to be a big, big test. Because now we got to go away at the end. We got to away at Anfield. We got to go away to Stamford Bridge. We got to go away to Man City. It's not a coincidence, man. I'm telling you. It's not a coincidence. I don't think it's anything against Newcastle per se, but it's definitely in their favor that they play at home in those particular big games where you think they need points. So There you go, Smoky. What do you think, Peter? You agree with me? Last time you kind of you were giving me the right on that.
I mean, I wouldn't be that surprised. Put it that way.
But look at him. Last season, the same thing.
But I couldn't hang me hat on that theory to say, that's definitely the case. But, I think...
Kind of like a good old conspiracy theory.
But it's just based on the fact that we're always away at the end of the season. I mean, same last year.
Truth is stranger than fiction, I'll say that. But I mean, maybe it's something worth looking into, the fixtures. Like,
do you think that Arsenal, as much as we made mistakes in that game, but you think that Arsenal, Man City we beat, do you think those teams want to come to St. James's Park at the end of the season where they need points?
Nah.
Man. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean that's. I'm just saying. What do you think, Bogey?
I think if you I don't think they can fix it really, but I suppose you could look at it the other way to say if they were going to fix it, would they do it the other way? So the big teams were having to come to St. James's, at the end of the season, so that imagine sort of the top 3 clubs having to come here to come up to St. James's Park, needing points to win the league. What excitement? Exactly,
that was exactly what Arsenal did last season. They were
our didn't.
Second last home game of the season was Arsenal at home before the Everton game.
And I'm saying, what if there was 2 or 3 teams challenging for the Premier League, and all 3 of them had to come to Newcastle? Could you imagine the atmospheres for each game? And could you imagine the amount of money the Premier League would make out of that? So. I don't think they can really fix the fixtures.
I think they have a software, don't they? But I mean,
super computer.
I work in IT, man. I work in IT, man. I can, you can put any code you want in the software. So I'm just saying, man, it's just too much of a coincidence that we're always away, and those top teams usually are always at home on those big matches, per se. But that's just a theory. But yeah, those are the results of today. Tomorrow, Man United West Ham play the last game of this particular week, I guess. If you want to call it that. But I'm telling you, man, if we lose against the Mackhams, that's it for Eddie Howe.
As far as you're concerned,
I think PIA will knacker him. I mean, I don't think, because you know why.
Go on.
Well, maybe not immediately after, but the effect on PIA on the board after that game, you better believe it.
I don't think the board even know anything about the Sunderland rivalry.
But they're about to. But they're about to if we lose. That's the point I'm drinking.
If we don't pick up 15 points from the next 18. There's no chance we're going to be within 3 points of Champions League at the end of December. So
let's see.
It is a must-win for Eddie Howe.
It is going to be a tricky season this season. I think that's we're just not keeping a hold of leads as much as what we should be. But I always try and Chris, I try and be positive and kind of we can do this. You know what I mean? We've got good players, but
of course.
But yeah, it's the Derby game is going to be a really tricky game, and wouldn't surprise me one bit if they get the result, Sunderland that is, because I haven't even watched them play once this season, but obviously I just keep seeing the results coming through, and it's unbelievable the run that they're on this season. So to be fair to them, I think at home it's just going to be a really tricky game. I think next week is massively important against Burnley.
Yeah,
3 points there, hopefully.
Let me say thank you to the super chats. Tony T, thank you for all the super chats tonight, mate. And who else we got? Tony T, the only one that super chatted. Wow, thank you, mate. Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. And we'll be back again tomorrow's Thursday. And we'll be back again. Breakfast show. And, all the shows tomorrow. We'll be taking a look at the game in hand, which is going to be Burnley, the mighty, powerful Burnley, who we should be beating. And we'll take a look at that. I mean, we got to beat them. It's a must win. But I'm telling you, I think that the heat from the Mackham game, if goes bad, there will be some punches. There will be some horses punched. There will be German shepherds out. There will be tear gas out. You better believe it, man. Listen, I've always never paid attention to the Mackhams when they're not relevant, because they haven't been relevant really to us in a long time. But now they're in here, and they're lighting it up. Telling you, man, people. It's surprised when people like win, but because he probably been a takeover fan, to be honest. But look, man, that Mackham
damn
game,
right, I was a takeover fan.
When
McKeek took over from Seymour.
Listen, when Moses sold Newcastle to Abraham, yeah. But no, seriously, the Mackham game, lads. I'm telling you, man. Channel nuclear. No. You better believe it. But hopefully we beat them, and that would be a massive punch. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Man, you are.
There were two guys in Bally's yesterday who said that was their line in the ground. Regardless of anything else, if we get beat off the Macklams, Eddie out.
Well, there you go. Let me go with some chats, though, before we actually go. We ain't got nothing else lined up after. So, Marco says, last night's game proved how much we need Bruno and Murphy. I was going back to the old Murphy. I think this was a long time ago. Let me see here. Prince of Chaos, Big Dan Burn, aerial stats are amazing. Boking Chris, your anti-Howe agenda is irrelevant, says Prince of Chaos. Mac debates, it don't matter if it's black or white. Oh, Michael Jackson. It don't matter if it's black or white. Too nuts. I go off my own eyes rather than statistics. And Tonali is top class. There you go, man. There you go.
Agree, mate. There you go.
Waldo says we need to find a system that suits both Tonali and Bruno. They're too restricted in the three. But the manager.
Well, I think Miley could be the answer to that, but I would far rather get in a proper number 6. But they are few and far between.
Bain says Wynn still stuck in the Ashley era, happy with the average and with zero ambition, says Bain. There you go. Prince of Chaos. Chris, we love Tonali, but maybe he needs to be benched like Gordon to light up a fire in him. That's fine. We're just gonna lose every game, so no problem. It's to each their own, mate. To each their own. The the size of these seagulls. I usually do a good job, but I forgot about this one. Got me. VAR. Wynn said when he was at Milan game, he's seen how fans treat Tonali as he is world class. Fact. He said. Absolutely. He said that. So that stat is BS. Well, we know that stat is BS, man. Wolfie, when we haven't played any of the big 6 away, there you go. That's the comment right there. Steve Waldo, Chris, if Wiss is fit for Saturday, what is currently our best team in formation? Well, listen, I think that we would. I think. Well, I know we're not going to dwell on it, but I'm going to give you mine. 4-2-3-1, greatest formation in the world. Bruno Tonali back there. Harry Barnes is a 10. Wissa on the left. You can be Lango or Murphy, whoever on the right. Voltemata up front. I mean, Newcastle United, Champions League winners. You better believe that. You better believe that, man. Tenji Vivid, how dropping Dubravka is going to hunt him on Saturday if we struggle to score enough goals. Hey, remember that Dubravka? He played with us once upon a time. He was backstab. How throw him under the bus, ran over him.
Best stats in the Prem at the minute, Dubravka for Burnley.
Remember when Howe threw him under the bus, ran over him, came back up, backed up, and ran over him again? Betrayed him. I'm just saying, Peter is laughing, but it's true, man. Guys, next week we will all be sitting here crying when we get smashed off them lot. No, man, the Mackhams. No, we don't play them next week anyway. Tenji, overhead shin kick. Yeah, pathetic. Nobody guarding the post in modern day professional football. That's true as well. Nobody was on that side on the post. But that also should be the goalkeeper telling them, "Hey, I need somebody here." Usually the goalkeeper does that. So, But nobody was expecting that slow grasshopper there that was just hopping around. I don't know. Carl Hope, Eddie spunked so much money up the wall. Is that a bad word?
Yes.
Really? I didn't know. Eddie wasted. Sorry about that. So much money. What does it actually mean though? Like hint it around. What does it actually mean?
I'll tell you when we're finished.
Like crapped? He crapped a lot of money.
I'll tell you when we're finished.
I don't know. You got me on that one. Up the wall in the summer. Ilanga isn't fast, but doesn't fit. It's fast.
I think he means is fast.
Our system has got football brain. Ramsey must be crap in training because Willock gets more minutes. Yeah, that's interesting. You know why? 3 center backs all leaving it to each other. That was the issue as well, I think. Tony, glass half full, people. Bruno's goal was good. It was really good. That came off an unbelievable play by Voltemata, by the way. Boom, little flick. Voltemata.
You keep that glass half full, Tony, son. You'll do worry.
Yeah, there you go. And we big up, of course, Bruno, but the one that gave him the pass set him up amazingly. We say he's rubbish and he's not a proper center forward.
And the one the one who put the ball into Voltemata in the first place, you may well say rubbish as well.
No, it's been proven, man. He has nothing to back him up. Voltemata has goals to back him up and assists. You know why? Right decision to bring Shara on, wrong decision to leave Burn. There you go. And those are the comments of today, folks. Listen, thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. We'll be back live again tomorrow, so stay tuned. Don't worry, man. We're going to be here shouting and arguing with each other all the time. Thank you to everybody out there. Thank you to the super chatters. Thank you to everybody. Niall Powell, I see Christina. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Tony, everybody that's tuning in. Thank you very much indeed. Hail Susar as well, who's becoming my nemesis, but I like the guy anyway. We'll have a few pints in the tune. Peter, I'm coming, man.
Yep.
We're gonna be hanging out.
Lock up your daughters.
We got it. Oh, with Peter around, you better believe it, man. You better believe it.
It's you I'm talking about.
We'll see you later, folks. Take care. How are the lads?
How are the lads?
Lads.